The Argonauts and the Eskimos could not decide their meeting last weekend once again until the game's final play. From the Toronto 15, Matt Gunnigan wants Rick House in the end zone, but Carl Braisley breaks it up and seals the win for the double blue, 26-20. But this is a costly victory. Quarterback Condredge Holloway is hurt again. Usually it's the knee, but this time it's his chest muscles on his throwing side. He will start tonight, but has missed a lot of practice time this week. So standing in the wings is former Ottawa quarterback J.C. Watts, because the question is, how much can Holloway play this evening?
As far as percentages are concerned, I would say my health is around 85 to 90%, which makes me available to play. Being in the business of professional football, you're paid to play football games, and I'm just going to do the best I can right now, no matter what the injury situation is. As far as the Ottawa defense is concerned, they made quite a few changes, which would make me believe that they're going to play a basic type of defense, cover 1, 2, and possibly some 3, which will allow them to be in a basic defense and hope that we'll make mistakes as an offensive club and they can capitalize on it. I hope we don't make very many mistakes tonight.
And tonight, it's Condredge Holloway and the rest of the Argonauts against the Ottawa Rough Riders. Live from Lansdowne Park in the nation's capital, this is CTV's Friday Night Football. The Ottawa Rough Riders are certainly suffering. Last weekend in Winnipeg, they lost their 6th consecutive game. They gave up 38 points in the second half alone. Their secondary riddled by Tom Clements. The Rider defense simply has to get better.
Defensively, to date, we haven't performed to our expectations, and basically Ottawa's always been known for a ferocious defense, and it's been a disappointment. Injuries earlier in the year kind of devastated us, and we've had to make a lot of changes. And it's hard when you're always constantly changing players. You don't get any cohesiveness. Hopefully going into tonight against Toronto, which is a well-established offense, we can bring back some of that old Rough Rider pride and get back on a winning track to keep up with Montreal.
The Riders give away 6 points in the standings to the Eastern leading Argonauts, who hope to pad their lead over Hamilton tonight. The good news for Ottawa is that the Tiger Cats are only a win away. Kicking off Labor Day weekend in the CFL tonight, it is the Ottawa Rough Riders playing host to the Toronto Argonauts. Here in the nation's capital, it has been clear and cool all day. Those conditions continue. 16 degrees Celsius right now, and the skies are not in the least bit threatening. There is a little bit of a breeze. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to CTV's Friday Night Football. It has often been said that statistics can be misleading. There is no better example than this current edition of the Toronto Argonauts. If you look at the yardage gained by their offense and the yardage given up by their defense, they are dead last in both categories in the offensive in the Eastern Conference. However, in terms of points scored and points allowed, they are first in both categories in the Eastern Conference. So the stats can be misleading. Of course, there are 3 very good reasons for that. Their special teams are outstanding. Condredge Holloway has only thrown 5 interceptions all year. Their kicking game is the best in the CFL. Let's go upstairs now to Pat Marsden and Leif Pettersson.
Thank you, Dan. Hello again, everybody. Make no mistake about it. The most important man in this football game is Condredge Holloway. The Argos know that. Never mind the J.C. Watt stuff. The Argos will go as far as Condredge can take them. Now, let's talk about the Ottawa Rough Riders. 8 changes. 4 on defense, 4 on offense. You were a player. What does that do to your confidence as you prepare for this game?
Well, Pat, you know, it's a very scary feeling with so many new players around, and simply because you don't know how the new guys around you are going to react in a game situation. All you can do is do your own job, take care of your responsibility, and hope the other guys do the same. But, you know, if you've lost 6 games in a row, as Ottawa has, I think you have to welcome some changes and hope that the new guys you've brought in play up to par and the expectations that the coaches have for them.
This is the most important game of the season for the Ottawa Rough Riders. If they win, they're right back at it. If they lose, the season might well be over. Dan?
Pat, one other note, neither team frightens anybody with its running game, so what I think we will see this evening is the air full of footballs thrown by Todd Dillon and Condredge Holloway. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. The opening kickoff is coming up shortly.
s'est porté d'épée, il s'est porté de gloire. Quand l'histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits, God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
There's the man who's going to be handling the action tonight from the officiating point of view. Jacques DeCarry is the referee tonight. And there's his understaff, Chuck Paul, Ed Dunn, Ron Artell, Bob Sugden, and George Black. This is a great stadium to watch a football game in, and it could not be a nicer night here on the banks of the Rideau Canal in the nation's capital. We talked in the opening about how important this game is to the Ottawa Rough Riders. They have currently 4 points. They started off with back-to-back victories, now have lost 6 in a row. I make this prediction, Leaf. If they win the ball game tonight, they'll win a close one. If they lose, they'll get blown away.
Well, I don't know. So many changes. We talked about it. It's very difficult and unsettling at times. But as I said, 6 games in a row you've lost. You've got to do something. And they brought in some pretty quality people from the United States Football League. We'll run them down for you as the game progresses. But definitely they have their hands full against the Argonauts. And that fellow you see on your screen, Hank Olisic, is one of the big reasons why the Argonauts are in first place in the East. Their special teams have been just quite frankly outstanding.
2 brand newcomers, certainly to this function, are back for Ottawa to receive this kickoff from Hank Olisic, Robert Reed, and Kelly Johnson. But this will be Reed, formerly with Saskatchewan, from his 4-yard line. Terrific collision right at the 25. Cliff Hewitt, number 15, was first down. Willie Pless was also there, but the Ottawa Rough Riders, hoping for a big return, do not get it. Robert Reed will start along with Jim Reed behind the man whom they are calling the Ottawa Savior, quarterback Todd Dillon. The receiving corps, tell us a little about those guys, Lee.
Kelly Johnson and Brad Califf are the 2 newcomers to that offense, both refugees from the United States Football League. But with the two Canadian running backs, the Rough Riders are starting 4 import receivers.
And on the first play of the ball game, Jim Reed gets about 5 yards, close to the 30. Now, the 4 changes that we talked about on offense for the Ottawa Rough Riders, Todd Dillon is starting his first game in the CFL. He did play last week in Winnipeg, as you take a look at that veteran Ottawa offensive line. Then Brad Califf, as Leaf mentioned, and Kelly Johnson, both outside receivers, 23 and 3. And then, of course, Robert Reed starting in the backfield. So it's 2nd down and 5 yards to go. Rough Riders over the middle. It is complete to Mark Barousse. And that'll bring them to within a foot, probably, of a first down. Paul Tripoli, who made his debut for the Argonauts last week at that safety spot, number 28, was there to make the tackle.
And Bob Avilovich was very happy with the play of Paul Tripoli. A little better hitting experience back at that safety spot. He's 6 foot, 195 pounds, so they're hoping he can dish out a little punishment.
So it is a first down as we look at that Toronto Argonaut defensive alignment.
Willie Pless, the much heralded rookie from the University of Kansas, and some changes. Same group as played in the secondary last week, but you've got Carl Brazeley once again playing the inside safety spot and Cliff Hewitt at the other inside safety. I expect them to go after Cliff Hewitt a little bit.
It's first down. Ottawa from their 35. Dillon looks, goes deep. The pass is picked off. Cliff Hewitt is there to make the interception. A tough break for the Ottawa Rough Riders because the ball was well delivered by Todd Dillon, but because it bounced off the receiver's hands, it went directly to Hewitt.
Todd Dillon tried to feather this throw into number 23, Brad Califf, the newcomer, but Marcellus Green and the zone coverage dropped off and made a good hit, the tip, and Cliff Hewitt has his first interception of 1986. I just said they're going to pick on him, and what does he do? Come up with an interception and a big turnover.
So Conrad Holloway and the Toronto Argonaut offense starts from the Ottawa 54-yard line. On the draw, it goes to Warren Hudson. with the stop made by James Curry. Actually, it was Craig Ellis that made the carry for the Argos, number 23.
One change for the Argonauts tonight. Ken Joyner back in the lineup, and he will move to the wide receiver spot. Steve Cox, who played wide receiver last week, moves into the slot back. Daryl Smith not playing with a bad knee.
Ottawa appeared to jump the gun as Conrad Holloway from the shotgun is sacked, but I'm sure that you'll find that number 78, James Curry, jumped outside.
That's probably why he got the sack.
So there is no sack, and Toronto will pick up 5 yards on the offside penalty.
And as you pointed out, Pat, it's just so crucial that Conrad Holloway stay healthy and stay in the game if the Argonauts are to be successful this year. And boy, the pressure's on that offensive line to give him the protection.
Offside, Ottawa, number 78, second down over.
So it's second down. Why have they... 3 yards to go, right, because they picked up a couple of yards. Again, Curry is in the backfield.
Well, Kelvin Prunster, the left tackle, had his hand down and then took it up off the ground, and if the official spotted that, that's a legal procedure. You can't put that hand down and then take it off.
So the Argos give the 5 yards back, but they don't give up the quarterback sack.
Illegal procedure, Toronto, number 66, second down over.
Well, as Leaf pointed out, Kelvin Prunster, the left tackle, did move, so it's second down, and it's 7 yards to go. There's the offensive line. Dave Kirsinger is the right guard, acquired from Calgary just a few weeks ago. Again, Curry moved. Holloway simply unloads the ball to Bob Bronk, and Bronk has enough yardage for the first down as he gets to about the 42-yard line. Craig Walls, a newcomer in at that outside linebacker spot for the Ottawa Rough Riders from Indiana, was there to make the stop.
Bob Bronk alternating this year with second-year man Warren Hudson at that fullback spot. He really made a nice move to pick up that first down. It's really not his forte to make moves. He likes to run over people, but this time, a nice shifty move to get that first down.
As you notice, James Curry did jump offside again, but it doesn't matter because the Argos picked up the first down. Holloway throws. Wide open was Stephen Cox. Unfortunately for Cox, the ball was behind him, and he simply couldn't adjust to it. Conrad's trying to adjust his shoulder pads. If Conrad Holloway survives this football game, he's got to be the toughest individual in North America because he is so badly hurt. He's got the bad knees. He's got the bad shoulder. He's been hit in the ribs.
Well, he's one of the grittiest football players I've ever been around.
Second and 10 from the 43-yard line. And he's going deep. Touchdown, Chris Woods. What a play. 43-yard touchdown pass from Conrad Holloway to Chris Woods. And that's his second major score of the season.
Conrad Holloway just did such an excellent job stepping up in the pocket, and he really put some good airtime on this pass. And with the great speed of number 85, Chris Woods, he simply outruns Daryl Hall and runs underneath the football. But what a great throw. Conrad just put a real hump on that ball and let the speedy Chris Woods run underneath it and make the catch. Really no contest. Daryl Hall just got frozen there when he went to the post, and it's a pretty easy touchdown catch for Chris Woods.
And, of course, Chris is going to run by a lot of guys because he really does have that blazing speed that quarterbacks love.
We're talking sprinter.
Yeah. Lance Chomek's point after as good as it has been every occasion he's been called upon this year. And the Toronto Argonauts impressively jump out in front 7-0. We'll be back in a moment. Great drive engineered by Conrad Holloway. 43-yard touchdown pass on the fourth play of that 54-yard drive to Chris Woods, and the Argos have jumped out in front 7-0 on a beautiful night for a CFL game here in Ottawa.
Boy, did a nice job stepping up in the pocket, too. Greg Marshall was coming with some good pressure. Connie stepped up and threw a perfect strike.
Kelly Johnson is number 3, and number 19 is Robert Reed, and they are awaiting the kickoff from Hank Alissig. end over end to Reed at the 5-yard line. Boy, there's some great contact by that Argonaut special team tonight. They allowed him an extra yard this time, but Robert Reed was really hammered as he crossed the 25 and got to the 26. Willie Pless, number 32. Certainly one of the great finds of 1986 is there to make the stop. Pless, the starting outside linebacker for the Argos. Ottawa got one first down on their first drive, and then Todd Dillon threw an unfortunate interception. And this time he was hit just as he released the football, so it falls aimlessly to the ground.
One fellow who's really improved this year with the Argonauts has been number 77, Rodney Harding, their second-year defensive end from Oklahoma State. And that time he got in and tipped that ball as Todd Gillen tried to deliver it. You know, Rodney had an interception last week against Edmonton and really made the big play of the first half in that game for them.
So it's a 2nd and 10 for Ottawa from their 26.5-yard line. Dillon fires, looking for Mark Barouche, just a little bit beyond him. I mean, you've got to take some of the things that clubs tell you with a bit of a grain of salt. But Donnie Holtby is so high on Todd Dillon. He compares him and said, really, he's about as good as Jim Kelly now with the Buffalo Bills. Well, Jim Kelly signed for $8.5 million for 5 years. I can guarantee you that it isn't close to what Todd Dillon is grabbing here in Ottawa.
I'm not sure about that one. He should have delivered a strike there to Mark Barouche, too. He had him wide open. Should have had it.
Kenny Clark, second best punter in the CFL. And this is Chris Woods picking it up at his 43-yard line. He just goes down.
Boy, did that not look like the old days when there was no blocking on punt returns.
7-0. The Toronto Argonauts are out in front of the Ottawa Rough Riders. We'll see what they can do when we come back. Let me run through the Ottawa defensive changes for you. Number 42, Henry Taylor, is the middle linebacker. Greg Walls, number 60, is the outside linebacker. Dennis Clay, until this past week, a member of the Toronto Argonauts, number 14, plays that inside safety spot. And Calvin Lovell, number 18, is playing at the corner. And Conrad has had no trouble to this point. One drive, one touchdown. Starting this time from his 43, hands the ball off to Craig Ellis, but the hole closed down very quickly. Ron Engelson, number 64, was there to make the tackle for Ottawa.
Craig Ellis only averaging 3.6 yards per carry this year, and Argonauts last in the entire Canadian Football League in rushing, so you can see it's really not imperative that they run with the football. They're still in first place. Their game is passing.
Coach Obilovich wouldn't care if they ever ran the football. He just believes you should throw it.
Get it airborne.
Conrad Holloway from the shotgun. Well, he got caught up in the traffic. He wanted to step up, and in fact did step up. But when he did so, he tripped over Lloyd Lewis, number 76, who had a couple of Argonauts already draped over him.
Well, coming into this game, Lloyd Lewis had 7 sacks. That's his 8th of the year, and it's probably the easiest one he's had all year. He was lying on the ground. Conrad fell over top of him. Good pressure at the top of your screen from number 78, James Curry, though. Kelvin Prinster's been having trouble with both Marshall and Curry early in the first quarter.
Kelly Johnson, number 3. Mark Lewis, number 5. 2 of the Ottawa Smurfs back to receive this punt that is really put into orbit by Hank Alisic. Lewis is at the 5-yard line, drops the football. It's still loose. The Argonauts have it at the 5. Willie Pless is there to make the recovery. "66 yards, that howitzer by Hank Alisic. Lewis just couldn't handle the punt, and Willie Pless is there to pick it up.
Isn't it funny how the newcomer, Willie Pless, is always around that football? Mark Lewis should have made the catch. Coughs it up, and Willie Pless just keeps hustling. Made a great hit on a kickoff return. Now got a fumble recovery. That's the Argonauts' second big turnover here in the first quarter.
Willie Pless is from Mumford, Alabama. I want to tell you a little story about that right after we watch Conrad Holloway operate from the 5-yard line. Craig Ellis, and Ellis is tripped up as he crosses the 5 to about the 3. And at the bottom of the pile was James Curry. I was talking about Mumford, Alabama. I saw Condredge before tonight's ball game, and he said to me, I ran into some old friends, Howard and Gladys Cornelius, who are from Willie Pless's hometown of Mumford, Alabama, and I hadn't seen Howard since I was in high school. I know he's watching in Alabama tonight. Will you say hello to him?
Perfect.
The give is to Craig Ellis, and he's in for the touchdown. We've got 8 minutes and 18 seconds left to play in the first quarter, and the route may well be on.
Well, is this part of the Argo glide, or do they only do that at home? No, I guess they only do that at home. Well, they had to replace Dennis Clay. He was part of that group, too. Now he's in Ottawa. But there's Craig Ellis diving over, picking up this Argonauts' second touchdown of the night.
The way things are going so far in this ball game, if they are going to do the Argo glide, they may have to expand the roster because these guys are going to be exhausted. Lance Chomik will try to make it 14 and does, of course. So the Toronto Argonauts have it all their own way so far. They lead the Ottawa Rough Riders 14-0. We'll be back with the Argo kickoff in a moment. Last week in Winnipeg, when Ottawa fell behind, they folded like a cheap umbrella. Let's see what happens right now. They're down 14-0 as a result of the 3-yard run by Craig Ellis. And the Argonauts are pretty tough to stop when Condredge, Holloway, and that offense are as sharp as they look tonight.
Boy, the name of the game is take advantage of your opportunities. 2 turnovers by the Argonauts already have resulted in 2 touchdowns. Interception by Cliff Hewitt, if you joined us late, and a fumble recovery by Willie Pless. 14-0.
Reed and Johnson are back to return this kickoff from Hank Olisic. And Johnson takes it again at the 4-yard line. Excuse me, Robert Reed. Well, he's getting better. He took the first one to the 25, the next one to the 26, and now he's up to the 28-yard line.
Those special teams of the Argonauts have played so well, and it's really the leg of Hank Olisic and Lance Chomik, because now that they're kicking off from the 35-yard line, if you can hold the opposing team inside their 30, I mean, you've just done a tremendous job.
Well, the Argos have looked overwhelming to this point with 8 minutes left to play in the opening quarter.
Bob Babilovich said it the other day. He says, we have the best special teams in the league by far.
This is Jim Reed. And the young man who started his CFL career with the Hamilton Ticats only manages to pick up about 3 or 4 yards before Kerry Parker, number 17, the cornerback on that side, brought him down.
Kerry Parker activated by the Argonauts a few games ago. 8th year in pro football. Originally with the Los Angeles Raiders, then went to the BC Lions, played out his option, went to Kansas City, back to BC, and now in Toronto, if you can follow that whole story.
The pickup was actually 4, so make it 2nd and 6. Mark LaRoche with the catch and the first down for the Ottawa Rough Riders as he gets to the 43-yard line before Paul Tripoli brings him down. I refer to the Ottawa receiving corps as the Smurfs. Mark Lewis, Kelly Johnson, Mark Barousse, and Brad Kalett. There is not one of them over 5'9".
Well, they're all that quick-styled receiving that they have to have for the run and shoot. 3 out of the 4, Kelly Johnson, Mark Barousse, and Mark Lewis had experience with Mouse Davis in the United States Football League, learning that run and shoot system.
After the 12-yard pickup, Ottawa has another big game as Mark Lewis gets into Toronto territory at the 45 before Paul Tripoli makes the tackle again. This time, it's 20 yards. Back-to-back plays, back-to-back first downs for a total of 32 yards, engineered by that man, the newcomer to the Ottawa starting quarterback, Derby Todd Dillon.
And that's a perfect play against the Toronto Argonauts that run predominantly zone coverage. They found a seam, and he just waited till Mark Lewis cleared the defensive back and hit him in the quick post.
Over the middle again to Barousse. Barousse brings it down at about the 39-yard line, so he'll have a pickup of close to 6 before Willie Pless, number 32, was there to make the stop.
Well, as we know, the run and shoot is three-step, get the ball away as quickly as possible. Nothing fancy about this, just hook over the middle. Now, if the linebacker jumps on top of Mark Bruce quickly, then he's going to go a little deeper to the next receiver downfield, but the linebacker's dropped off, so he hits Mark Bruce. Not a bad call on first down.
Picks up 6 yards, so it's 2nd and 4. Ball is at the Toronto 39. Bruce throws again. Again, it is Dillon threw complete again to Bruce, and he's very close to the first down. The placement of the ball will be all important. Paul Tripoli, number 28, again there to make the stop.
And that's why Paul Tripoli is playing middle safety for the Toronto Argonauts. Watch this tackle. This is a tackle that keeps him short of making the first down. Cliff Hewitt can't do it, but what you want your defensive backs to do when they make a tackle that he goes no further. That's why Paul Tripoli's playing.
Paul Tripoli from the Alabama Crimson Tide just came to Toronto this season.
No, he only started in his senior year down there, Pat, and sometimes you might think that's unusual to play only 1 year of college, but with the Crimson Tide, they're such a football factory, sometimes you've got to wait your turn.
So it's 3rd down, about a foot to go for the first down. Dillon keeps it himself, and he should have that first down.
Well, this is really what Ottawa has to have. They've fallen behind 14-0 early in the first quarter, and they could put together a good drive here, hopefully get a touchdown, but at least get some kind of points that'll just kind of reestablish a little bit of the momentum.
The ball is spotted right at the 35-yard line of the Argonauts. It is first down Ottawa, trailing 14-0 with 4:55 left to play in the opening quarter. You cannot wait as long as Todd Dillon did. Marlon Jones, number 90, the big defensive end from Central State in Ohio, was there to bring him down. Jones made his return to the Argonaut lineup last week, played well then, and really has played well in every game they've started him in.
Well,
holding Ottawa number 65, which is declined, 2nd down.
Roger Catalan called for holding, decline.
Well, Todd Dillon just couldn't get the ball away quick enough. Good coverage downfield, and Marlon Jones made the sack.
2nd down, 14 yards to go. Dillon looks and goes right through and underneath Mark Lewis.
The Argonauts on defense have changed a little bit this week. They're almost playing like a 3-man line of flex defense, similar to the Dallas Cowboys use, where they've got number 90, Marlon Jones, back off the ball a little bit, and they're doing a lot of stunning, trying to foul up the blocking patterns of the Ottawa offensive line.
Paul Tripoli will drop into the Toronto end zone as Dean Dorsey, as you see, terrifically accurate field goal kicker, will try this one from the 46-yard line with Ken Clark to hold.
Two extremely accurate kickers in the game tonight, Dean Dorsey and Lance Chomick, and they're both great friends.
They are 1 and 2 in accuracy in the league. The field goal by Dorsey is good from 46 yards out, and he puts the Ottawa Rough Riders on the scoreboard with 4 minutes and 13 seconds left to play in this opening quarter. Dan?
Pat, we just had a little conversation with Darrell Hall, who we all thought got beat deep by Chris Woods on the Argonaut touchdown, but I guess there is some confusion in that Ottawa secondary after having it retooled this past week. He said he was supposed to have some deep help on the play. He turned around, it wasn't there. He had to scoot back, but obviously not in time.
Well, if he was to have help, it's probably from the safeties. Phil Jones should have maybe come over, and Phil's just back in his first game after missing a few.
Argonauts come out quickly with Ken Joyner, number 80, making his first catch of the ball game, and Ron Engelson, number 64 of Ottawa, making his 3rd or 4th tackle.
No, the Argonauts have a play off that quick screen to the wide receiver. Usually the slot back is the first man out to pick off the cornerback blocking, and they just turn him upfield and try and hit him on a bomb faking that screen. I hope they use it tonight. I've seen them do it in practice, and it's a great play.
Mike Saraska from the University of Calgary is in there at the Paul Pearson receiver spot. Pearson, of course, hurt with a hamstring. Bob Bronk dropped the screen pass. Greg Marshall may have tipped at the defensive end for the Rough Riders, number 66.
He's really been coming hard here in the first quarter. He's been giving Kelvin Prunster fits on the right side, but that time he can't get in and make the sack. He realizes it's a screen play, and he drops back off and tips it.
So Mark Lewis, number 5, the son of Leo Lewis, the Hall of Fame great of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of yesteryear, and Kelly Johnson, number 3, are back to receive this punt from Hank Olisic, who last time booted it 66 yards. It's another good punt. He's having a great season. Lewis at the 16-yard line. Well, he couldn't get outside. The ball comes loose, but it was after the whistle had blown. Willie Pless again was there to make the tackle for Toronto.
Boy, he's just having a whale of a first quarter. A fumble recovery and 2 big tackles on special teams.
I mean, I'm not kidding you. I saw this guy in the airport yesterday. I was walking with Leo Cahill, and I said, who is that? Because I assumed it might have been Ken Joyner or somebody, because he looks like a little wide receiver. It's Willie Pless. I cannot get over how he hits for a man his size. Pless is rated at 5'10", 210 pounds, and he can really whack you. First down, Ottawa from their 18-yard line. This is Jim Reed, the ball carrier. Don Moan got him turned inside to Marlon Jones, and then Jones got some help as well. And he picks up maybe a yard or 2 at the most.
Pat, I was talking earlier with quarterback Todd Dillon. You know, he's only been in Canada 3 weeks, and he says the 12th defender doesn't bother him. The wider field is comforting. The only thing he finds confusing about Canadian football is he's not adapted yet to what defenses will throw at him in down and yardage situations. It's the 3 downs he finds a little tough to handle.
The pass was thrown intended for Mark Lewis, but over his head. Might have been a little bit of confusion in that Ottawa pass pattern.
Well, you know, I talked to Dennis Meyer this week, who's the defensive backfield coach of the Argonauts, and he was really disappointed last week in their game against Edmonton at the linebackers and the inside safeties for not jamming those receivers a little better at the line of scrimmage. Tonight, they're really making an effort to do that, and it just fouled up that entire last pass pattern. Mark Lewis just couldn't get downfield in time.
Ken Clark will be punting to the lone Toronto Argonaut, Chris Woods, who awaits at his 45-yard line. Good punt by Clark. And Woods takes it right at the 45. Chris has had problems with his leg most of this season, and you can tell he's not delighted to be returning punts tonight. He looks like he just wants to get down and, you know, let's
take a rest.
Yeah.
No, but I don't think he'd be delighted when he looked up there and there was about 8 black shirts in front of him.
Well, you used to do that. Was there blocking when you did it?
Are you kidding? 58 punts my rookie year I returned in Saskatchewan, and not 1 block was thrown for me.
Leaf started off at 6'6" and finished that year at 6'2".
I'm a Smurf.
From the 46-yard line, their own, the Argos begin with Holloway in the shotgun. And he is dropped back at the 34-yard line. James Curry had great pressure for Ottawa, and so too did Greg Marshall.
Well, that was a screen pass that Holloway wanted to set up. Now, you've got to let the lineman come, but you've got to fight them with a little bit of pressure. You can't let them come too easy. That time, Bob Bronk just really turned Greg Marshall free, and the play had no chance to develop. I'll tell you, Curry and Marshall have been coming hard tonight.
The 2 defensive ends for the Ottawa Rough Riders create a 13-yard loss, so make it second down, 23 to go. Argos back at their 33-yard line. And Holloway goes deep, has Cox, has the first down at the Ottawa 48-yard line. Phil Jones makes the tackle, but what a beautiful pass pattern run by Stephen Cox, and what a great throw from Conrad Holloway.
Well, Artis Seltz is the offensive coordinator. He calls all the plays from the press box, and they're signaled into Conrad Holloway. I'm sure he just anticipated second and long he's going to get his own coverage. I'm going to send Steve Cox right down the seam, and Connie threw a perfect strike.
29 yards, the pickup. First down, Argos in Ottawa territory now, as Cox this time dropped the ball that was right in his hands.
Second time Conrad Holloway's missed that pass pattern to Cox, that he's been wide open, and I think he just tries to get rid of it a little too quickly and throws off the back foot.
Conrad has thrown the ball 6 times tonight, completed 4 of them for 86 yards. The greatest thing about Holloway is he does not turn the ball over. He has 11 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions, and has thrown at a 57% completion rate.
Well, the league keeps track this year of the takeaway and giveaway category, and of course Toronto is at a +9 and second in the league in that department.
This pass was over the head of the intended receiver, Chris Woods. As the gun sounds to end a very quick first quarter of play here at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa. The score, the Toronto Argonauts 14, the Ottawa Rough Riders 3. We'll return with the second quarter in a moment. Hank Olisic drops back to punt on third down for the Argos. Phil Jones, the only Rough Rider back. If this one goes to the end zone, he'll give up the single point. Well, I don't know why you would catch a ball on the 2-yard line when you can let it roll into the end zone and bring it out to the 9. However,
well, I think that's a very valid comment, too.
You know, I mean, you're down 14-3. Who cares if it's 15-3? Let's get the ball at the 35. There's a look at what happened in the first quarter of play. 77-59 total yards. But the big stat there, of course, is the turnovers. 2 by the Rough Riders. Argos jumped on them and scored touchdowns off both of them.
What's amazing to me is how well they cover Hank Olisic's punts. He's averaging over 50 yards a punt, and yet they get down there and they hardly get any yards on their returns.
Jim Reed. Reed, well, stumbles across the 10 to about the 12-yard line. He'll have a pickup of 3. David Marshall, the middle linebacker, number 73, and Mark Seal, the former Ottawa Rough Rider, number 76, there to bring him down for Toronto.
Originally a 12th round draft choice of the New York Giants was Mark Seal. Didn't make that in 1982, and of course returned to the Ottawa Rough Riders as he was a territorial pick.
Right, Mark Seal, as Lee pointed out, a Canadian boy, went to the University of Richmond. Well, now Todd Dillon is sacked inside the 5 at about the 3, so the Rough Riders really have a problem, as Don Moen was first to get there, number 36. And now Ken Clark will be punting out of his end zone.
I consider Don Moen probably the unsung hero on that Toronto defense. You know, he's been with the team for 5 years, graduate of the University of British Columbia, originally drafted by BC, and before his initial season, 5 days before the season started, he was traded to Toronto, and boy, has he played well.
Really looks like a California beach.
Oh, he's got the blonde hair.
Blonde
surfer.
Yeah. Punt by Clark. Ooh, gets by Chris Woods. Big break for Ottawa. And he's dropped back at the 35-yard line. Well, talk about a clutch punt and talk about coaches being driven crazy when the returner doesn't catch the ball. A 67-yard net punt for Ottawa, who trailed the Toronto Argonauts 14-3. We'll be back in a moment.
Velovich says it's very comforting to have a lot of depth and talented quarterback. With Holloway banged up, however, he needs good protection tonight. But in talking with offensive lineman Dan Ferrone, he says the Argonauts have no special schemes. They are not keeping an extra back in to protect Holloway. They will play, he says, just as tough as ever. Mind you, so far, they're pleased with what they've been able to do.
First down, Argos from the 36-yard line, and this is Craig Ellis. Boy, if there's any kind of an opening, Ellis can normally get through there. You saw the high step, and he gets it out to the 49-yard line for a pickup of 12 yards.
You know, I had a nice chat with Craig Ellis before the game tonight. We sat on a bench and just kind of shot the breeze, and he said it's really so much fun for him. He's been in pro football 5 years now to get to a team that's winning and maybe have a good shot at the playoffs in a Grey Cup, because he's never been in the playoffs with any team he's been with.
Of course, he came from Saskatchewan, and they haven't made it in the last 9 years.
Yeah.
Conrad's dropped the football, and they will rule it an incomplete forward pass.
Well, I don't know about that one.
Yeah, they're going to rule that he was in a throwing motion, and the ball fell forward, but Conrad was very slow getting to his feet. Let's watch.
Well, I thought he was just pumping and trying to get it back into his body and just take the sack. Oh, yeah, that's a fumble. No question about it. Craig Walls knocked the ball out of his hands, and the Ottawa Rough Riders should have it.
But they do not. Instead, it'll be second down, 10 yards to go.
I can't believe Joe's that calm.
He started off calm. That may be the calmest you'll ever see Joe in his life.
Well, the fans are upset, and I don't blame them. That would have been a big break, trailing 14-3.
Flag is down, and so is Condredge. Back at the 37-yard line. Greg Marshall and Henry Taylor, 66 and 42.
Oh, and Connie's so slow to get up every time he gets hit. You know, you just kind of hold your breath every time a sack comes against him.
Ottawa has sacked Condredge 3 times tonight. Here's the call.
Holding Toronto number 68, which is declined. 3rd down.
Dave Kersinger, the right offensive guard, number 68, called for holding. You know, I'm sure when you watch football games, it must drive some people, you know, to drink, saying, how is this guy's name pronounced? Dan Ferroni pronounces his name Ferroni, but we've been through this with him before. He said, I know a lot of people will pronounce it Ferrone, but it really should be Ferroni. He doesn't care really how it's pronounced, but I like to call him by what the players call themselves. Kelly Johnson, number 3, returns the punt, but Willie Pless is there to drag him down after a 53-yard boot by Hank Olisic. So the Ottawa Rough Riders will take over. Toronto leads at 14-3. We'll be back in a moment.
Illegal block. Ottawa number 42. 1st down.
Henry Taylor, the new middle linebacker for the Ottawa Rough Riders, called for an illegal block. Taylor has actually been with Ottawa since training camp, but this is his first action. The other newcomers, Craig Walls, Dennis Clay, and Calvin Lovall, are all newcomers. Todd Dillon's pass off the hands of Mark Lewis. He might have been out of bounds anyway.
Yeah, I think he might have been. Carl Brazeley over applying the coverage, and it's been a big transition for Carl moving back inside. You know, he likes playing that cornerback spot. He was playing it extremely well, but for the good of the team, he's had to make the switch, and hopefully he'll do all right there. He's doing all right so far.
It brings up a 2nd and 10 for Ottawa. The ball is at their 21-yard line. They've had very bad field position most of this ball game. And you see Todd Dillon's stats are not overly impressive. This one he threw right into the coverage. Marcellus Green with the interception for the Argonauts at the 25-yard line of Ottawa. Marcellus Green just sat there and waited for the ball.
Well, it's his 3rd interception this year, and boy, a pretty easy one. Is that part of the Argo glide? I don't know. But anyway, Todd Gillen shouldn't have thrown this football. Zone coverage, he makes the read, and if he's going to throw it to that inside receiver who really wasn't even looking, Brad Caleb, he's got to hit him quicker, and Marcellus just sat back and made an easy catch.
So the Argos have the ball at the 26-yard line of the Rough Riders. Condredge sets up that swing pass for Craig Ellis, and he is grabbed from behind and dropped by number 60, Craig Walls, that new linebacker who comes from Indiana and is playing the outside for Ottawa. Showed good speed there.
You know, we were talking today, and we said, geez, I thought they'd use Craig Ellis a little more than they had. He's only had 30 catches coming into tonight's game, and here's a guy that's had over 100 2 years in a row, but this is the kind of play I think will be good for them. Get it to him out in the flat and let him run against the linebacker.
He picked up 5 yards, so make it 2nd and 5. Holloway fires, and it's a touchdown, Argonauts. What a sensational grab by Craig Ellis. I assumed the ball had hit the ground. 21 yards, the touchdown strike from Condredge Holloway to Craig Ellis.
Oh, did he make a great play? They had double coverage on him that time. They ran number 60, the newcomer who we told you about, Craig Walls, the linebacker. Watch this. Double coverage. Dennis Clay on him as well, and he just sneaks in behind, and what a catch that is. Well, we said to use him more in back-to-back plays. He's got a touchdown.
Craig Ellis has 2 touchdowns tonight, 1 running, 1 pass receiving. Lance Charnock has 3 points after, and the Argonauts are on their way to a laugher, it would appear.
Well, you know, Condredge Holloway has confidence in Craig Ellis when he'll throw double coverage, and he led him perfectly. Let Ellis circle around that linebacker and make the catch for the TD.
It's 21-3. Argos lead the Rough Riders. We'll be back in a moment. If you turn the ball over to good football teams, you normally get burned. Ottawa has turned it over 3 times, 3 touchdowns.
Well, there's Craig Ellis. I asked him, how do you like living in Toronto? He said, what a great city this Toronto is. He's just having a ball, and his wife's still living out in Edmonton. They own a house out there. She's a systems analyst, and he says they're going to go back and stay there after this season. She apparently up for a promotion, so good for her, and Craig's loving Toronto.
The kickoff by Hank Olisic is fielded by the newcomer Kelly Johnson. Those cover teams of the Toronto Argonauts just outstanding tonight. Ball is to the 34-yard line. Going to be anxious to see how long Coach Joe Moss will stay with Todd Dillon. Tom Burgess will come in if he elects to make a quarterback change. 21-3, Argos over Ottawa with 10 minutes and 10 seconds left to play in the first half here at Lansdowne Park in the nation's capital. Screen pass to Reed. And Reed has a big first down for Ottawa to the Rough Rider 53-yard line. Rodney Harding finally brings him down, number 77, but not before a 19-yard pickup on this screen pass.
Well, you know, he's averaging 13.2 yards per catch, which is really great for a fullback. And Nick Benjamin, number 68, in his second year, the right offensive guard, got out and got a great block to spring him loose.
Ottawa in desperate need of a major score here. Toss goes to Robert Reed. And Robert Reed went airborne, which is something that is unwise on many occasions. He was fortunate there that somebody didn't drop him on his head. Marlon Jones, number 90, will get credit for the tackle.
Pat, with the Riders throwing the screen pass and doing a little running, this may be part of their plan to offset the blitzing Argonauts. Mark Bruce was telling us they have not been picking up the blitz well, and Dillon's been rushed, and of course he's not that familiar yet with the offense. It's really caused the Riders a lot of trouble.
It's second down and 5 yards to go. Oh, he wanted to throw the screen here, but everybody was covered, and by the time he finally did get it set up, Doug Nicholas, number 7, who is in there as the Argos nose tackle, tipped the ball.
Well, you know what I find surprising about Dan's comment that they're not picking up the blitz too well, as you see Doug Nicholas make that tip. You know, with the run and shoot offense, I thought you never worried about the blitz because it was just such a quick passing game. If they blitz, the ball should be gone. Maybe it's not a true run and shoot.
Ken Clark averaging over 50 yards a punt tonight. Will be booting on 3rd and 5. Or will he? This is Burgess, the quarterback. He floats this one up in the air, and it's initially picked off by Kerry Parker. Then he fumbles the football, and he's back to the 17 or 18-yard line.
Well, I know it's an interception, and it's good for the statistics, but I think Kerry Parker might have been wiser if he just knocked that ball down. They would have got the ball back at the original line of scrimmage. Of course, you don't think about those things when you got an interception staring you in the face.
The Rough Riders used this formation last week or a couple of weeks ago against the BC Lions, and it fooled the Lions initially. But obviously now everybody has seen it, and it fooled no one, except maybe the Rough Riders.
Well, the Argos had a defense perfectly. There's Kerry Parker back and picks up his second interception of the year. Fumbled the football, but Marcellus Green and, well, actually Kerry Parker recovered his own fumble.
That's Chris Woods down on the field with trainer Freddie Dunbar attending to him. There's Kerry Parker, and there's Chris Woods.
Pat, the Argonaut defense came off the field kind of hanging their heads. The offense over here has really given them a lot of trouble about the interception. The fact also that they didn't pick up the fact Burgess was on the field in the first place. They were hollering their heads off.
Well, they reacted well to it because the Argos do have the ball. Sunday, September the 7th, one of the great rivalries in any sport, anywhere. The Hamilton Ticats come to play the Toronto Argonauts. Sunday, September the 7th. That's a week from this Sunday. The Hamilton fans will be there. It is hoped the Argo fans will be there.
Well, you know, when I played for Hamilton, I recall those games, and it was like a mini Grey Cup every time we came to play in Toronto. We wanted to beat them so badly when we played in their park, and I know nothing's changed.
Holloway with the handoff to Craig Ellis, and he gets caught up in the traffic as he gets close to the line of scrimmage. You may end up losing a yard or two. James Curry, Lloyd Lewis, both there, along with others to bring him down. 7 minutes, 45 seconds left to play in the first half. Completely dominated by the Argos.
Saw Paul Pearson leaving the field as Chris Woods returns. He is not going to play tonight unless they desperately need him because his hamstring still's not 100%. And Mike Sarashka made a couple of good catches last week, a big touchdown, so it's good for him to get a little experience tonight too.
Holloway's pass, what a grab. Beautiful catch by Ken Joyner, number 80. Who looked like a ballerina. He just went flying through the air, made the grab, and the Kentucky State graduate has a big 25 yards for the Argos, who quickly get out of their own zone.
What a great throw and an even better catch. Look, he jumped just a bit early, but he's got such great hang time and he stretches out. That's a circus job right there. Second catch of the night for Kenny Joyner. Well, you know, that's the one thing Argonauts have had this year. They've had some depth in that receiving corps when they've had an injury. Darrell Smith out. Well, Joyner comes back in. They had Kirtland Thomas. He did a good job while he was able to play.
Holloway's pass. This time goes through the hands of the intended receiver, Mike Sharaska. Incidentally, speaking of Sharaska, who is, of course, a University of Calgary graduate, we saw him play in the Vanier Cup. The defending Vanier Cup champs, the Calgary Dinosaurs, will play host to the University of Manitoba a week from Saturday at 1:30. That's September the 6th. So if you're going to be in Calgary, go to McMahon Stadium. You'll see one of the great university teams in Canada, the Calgary Dinosaurs. 6.5 minutes left to play in this second quarter. Holloway had problems fielding that pass from center, and as a result, the Argos will be forced to turn it over.
James Curry in on the sack, but really been a bit of a problem for the Argonauts this year is that snap from center Willie Thomas. Every once in a while, he really tests the catching abilities of Conrad Holloway. That time, no chance for Conrad to field the ball and get a pass off downfield. So, another sack for the Rough Riders.
And they've got time to try to score a touchdown in this first half. 6:10 left to play. Trailing 21-3, Hank Olisic, who really has been outstanding tonight, averaging close to 55 yards, is back in punt formation. Kelly Johnson. Kelly tried to get to the outside and ends up losing a few yards. Don Moen was there to make the tackle. Well, at halftime, we've got another top show for you, the CFL this week. Take a look at the first half of 1986, the Pacific Western Stars. Doug Mitchell, the commissioner of the CFL, will answer a question sent in by you, the viewers. And Leaf will have the first half highlights for you. I suspect they'll be all Argos.
Got a few of them.
Yeah. Over the middle, the pass goes. But a flag also comes down at the same time.
Robert Reed said, I want no part of this football. He saw number 73, David Marshall, zeroing in on him, and he said, no way.
Holding Ottawa, number 32, which is declined. Second down.
Jim Reed, number 32, was called for holding. Argos decline it, brings up 2nd and 10 for the Rough Riders from their 37. Now this is Reed, and Reed will be very close to another first down. There is a penalty marker down on the field. Willie Pless was there to make the tackle for Toronto, number 32. Let's see what the penalty's about.
The second time they've run this screen pass to Jim Reed. It's a good play, and he made a good move to get away from Don Moen initially.
Well, penalty is obviously against the Argos because referee Jacques Decarie is talking to Jim Reed.
Well, I think it's defensive holding, and I alluded to the fact that they wanted to jam those receivers tonight a little better, but you got to not hold them while you're jamming them.
Well, Ottawa would have been just short of the first down. Now they will have it. Here's the call.
Illegal block. Toronto number 17. First down.
The Toronto Argonauts number 17 is Kerry Parker.
Watch this. I suspect he just he grabs him and fires him out of bounds and made the call.
Dillon's pass is complete to Mark Bruce, but then he coughs up the football and they will rule it an incomplete forward pass. Cliff Hewitt with a good hit on him.
Yeah, that's a great job at defense. Cliff Hewitt, David Marshall, I believe, was in there. Cliff Hewitt paid the price for that hit. But when you're playing a zone, you know, there's going to be some lanes that you can throw the football in. When you're a defensive guy, now you've got to squeeze those lanes as fast as possible. That was Willie Pless, number 32, also in the play with Cliff Hewitt.
Willie's having a terrific ball game.
Oh, he's been awesome tonight.
And really, I can't remember a game where he hasn't played well. As a rookie from Kansas, Willie Pless.
Leading tackler on the Argonauts this year, 67 coming into this game, and that's in 8 games, so that's a pretty good number.
Over the middle to Bruce. He makes the catch, and he hangs on this time as he's very close to a first down at the Argo 53. Paul Tripoli was there to make the stop.
Well, that's why he's their leading receiver, Mark Bruce. 41 catches coming into the game tonight, and he makes a nice fingertip job right here. 5 catches for him in the first half.
Sticks are out, and we're going to see how close it is. It was close enough to measure, but it is a first down for Ottawa. So they keep it with 4:25 left to play in this second quarter. Ball is right at the Argo 53. Well, he goes deep. There was contact all over the field, and then Kelly Johnson snuck in behind everybody. I'm not sure that Todd Dillon wasn't looking for Mark Lewis. There was contact with Lewis, and then unbeknownst to anyone else, little Kelly Johnson, who they listed 5'8", but is probably above 5'6", is there to make a 45-yard reception.
Well, Pat, you're absolutely right. He was looking for Mark Lewis, but this is what happens when you've got 2 wide receivers both running post patterns. Sooner or later, you're going to end up meeting in the middle of the field, and what an alert play by Kelly Johnson to make the catch. 45 yards.
As Leaf told you earlier, Kelly Johnson from the University of Colorado is another ex-USFLer. And don't kid yourself. The USFL was a passing league, and they had some terrific receivers in that league. Todd Dillon is dropped back of the line of scrimmage by Doug Mikolas, number 70. Mikolas, at 6'2" and 260 pounds, came to the Argos from Portland State.
And another USFL refugee with Jacksonville Bulls. He also played for Denver, Mouse Davis.
So we've got a 21-3 ball game in favor of the Toronto Argonauts with 3:07 left to play in the second quarter, and we'll be back to pick it up in a moment.
It was 2 weeks ago on this field that Mark Bruce blew out a hamstring playing the BC Lions. He has re-injured his leg, back on the bench. He will not play at least until the next half.
That's the thing about hamstrings, though, isn't it? I mean, they can last a season. They can last 2 years. Poor Paul Pearson. I mean, Paul's always had trouble with his hamstrings.
Yeah, he really has.
And it's funny, Bobby Layden and I were talking to him on the field. He said he's taking more potassium now. Second down, 10 yards to go. Ottawa at the Argo 17. Dillon throws to the end zone. No good. Well, it was a great opportunity for Robert Reed, but he was not able to make the catch. And the Rough Riders are turned away once again.
Cliff Hewitt, nice job on the coverage. Initially, Reed got in behind him, but Cliff Hewitt able to react in time to knock that ball away. Well, that's pretty close to screening, though, isn't it?
Yeah, he didn't look for the ball. But that's not going to help the Ottawa cause because they don't get the touchdown. Dean Dorsey will try his second field goal of the evening from the 23-yard line. And, of course, it is good from that point for Dean Dorsey, and the Ottawa Rough Riders instantly double their point total. It's now a 21-6 ball game with 2 minutes and 43 seconds left to play in this second quarter.
Well, the Ottawa Rough Riders sure haven't had any breaks with the calls so far in the first half. A fumble that I thought by Conrad Holloway should have been called wasn't, and maybe a questionable interference call there in the end zone, although they really didn't protest that one too much, did they?
No, they have also turned the ball over to the Argos on 3 separate occasions, so...
You know, that's the one puzzling thing about the Argonauts this year. You know, everybody says, well, they're 5-3, they're in first place, but you know, they're last in defensive categories. They're last in total offense. But the one thing that they are extremely good at is not beating themselves. Conrad Holloway, only 5 interceptions, and with the great special team play they've had, it's not surprising that they are in first place.
Another factor, Leaf, maybe Henry Taylor, Ottawa linebacker, was telling us that Toronto has not thrown any surprises at them tonight, but he says he's never seen them execute this well.
I think the offensive line really knows that the pressure is on them to protect Conrad Holloway. They've given up 44 sacks so far this year, and that's the worst in the Canadian Football League.
Dean Dorsey's kickoff will be handled by Craig Ellis at his 11-yard line. And where Ottawa could only get to the 25, 26, and 28-yard lines, Craig Ellis is out to the 40.
Well, that's such a good point. That's 15 yards. And you know, those things over the course of an entire football game really add up, and they don't show up in the statistics when you read it in the paper, but that's a big 15 yards to get it out to the 40. Your play selection becomes a lot easier. You can take a few more chances if you want to.
Conrad Holloway has thrown the ball 12 times tonight, completed 7 for 137 yards and 2 touchdowns. On the other side, Dillon is 8 for 20, 3 interceptions. First down, Argos at their 40. Craig Ellis on the draw. And he was able to evade the tackle of Lloyd Lewis and get up for a gain of close to 5 yards.
Pat, I was asking Craig Ellis just before he went back on what was more fun, scoring on the ground or scoring through the air. He said he'll take either. But what is best, he says, tonight is that the Argonaut offense is really clicking well and scoring touchdowns. You know, that's been a problem.
Yeah, they look very confident right at this point in the ball game, Dan. It's second down and 5 yards to go. Holloway's pass is caught by Joyner. He has another first down as he gets into Ottawa territory at the 53. Calvin Lovall, the newcomer on the corner, number 18, was there to make the tackle.
Kenny Joyner, a free agent from Kentucky State. Argos had a free agent camp, and this is where they first had a look at Ken Joyner. Runs just a simple square-out pattern, all timing. Just Conrad Holloway throws before he makes the break, and boy, that's simple pitch and catch.
Joyner has caught 3 tonight for a total of 43 yards.
They had a big block punt in a game in Montreal earlier this year that kind of broke that one open for the Argonauts. Special teams once again.
Kind of got the Argos on track, too. That pass is picked off by Rick Sovieta. You saw him at the top of our show, and he has put Ottawa back in this ball game late in the second quarter. Rick Sovieta has taken it all the way to the 6-yard line before Willie Thomas drags him down, but it's a 53-yard return.
Well, he played it perfectly, sat right on the hip of Craig Ellis as he came across the field and then stepped in front, made the interception, his first of the year, and what a great run back. You know, he can see that goal line now, and he can smell it. He's saying, I want to get in there, but he just can't do it. Willie Thomas makes the tackle. Oh, his eyes must have been the size of grapefruits when he saw that goal line.
It happens so often, though, where a team will be picked up by a defensive play like this. Let's see if Ottawa can capitalize. First down at the Toronto 8. Dillon fires. No good. He's intending it for the big guy. Hudson, number 73. Mike Hudson has all the tools to be a receiver except one. He doesn't catch very well.
Well,
he had a big game in Montreal.
Yeah, he did. He set a single game receiving record for the Ottawa Rough Riders. But Paul Tripoli, number 28, really made, that's the second big play he's made in the first half. Good tackle to stop a first down. And now, just as it looked as though Hudson was going to squeeze it, he delivered the hit that knocked the ball loose.
They are concerned about his catching ability, however. On second down, let's see. And this one is fired over the head of Brad Caleb, number 23. The Boo Birds are out now. They're not too happy.
You know, one thing that's always bothered me about the run and shoot offense, it really looks so helter-skelter with guys running all over the place. And half the time, I'm not sure if they know what they're doing, because that pass pattern really had no chance to develop, and it just didn't seem structured at all.
Well, Dean Dorsey's back in. Boy, when you start at the 8-yard line with a first down, though, and you're trying to fight your way back into a football game.
You need the 6, you know, right before the half. What a way to go into the locker room, but they just can't put it together.
So Dean Dorsey picks up his 3rd field goal of the evening, and Ottawa is back within striking distance at least. They trail 21-9. Dean Dorsey from the University of Toronto, as is Lance Chomick. Leaf pointed out before, they are good friends. And they are 2 outstanding kickers.
Lance Chomick hasn't had an opportunity to attempt a field goal tonight, but 21 of 23, leading the league in percentage. He's trailing Roy Kurtz in Montreal for the league lead in the amount of field goals kicked. Roy Kurtz has kicked 22 this year, but boy, you know, which was a problem for the Argonauts a few years ago. Their kicking game is now probably one of the most solid areas of the team.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, it leads in both departments. Hank Olisic is the #1 punter, and Lance Chomick is the #1 field goal kicker. So the Argos will send back Ken Joyner again and Craig Ellis. Ellis is 23. Joyner is 80. And with 1:29 left, let's see what Ottawa elects to do here. I would kick it as far as I could, because I don't want to give the Argos an opportunity to put any more points on the board in this half. It's such a critical game for Ottawa. They're trying to get back after losing 6 in a row into that Eastern Conference playoff hunt. This is Joyner from the 15. Flag is down, and Joyner is forced out as he gets to the 38 or 39-yard line by Darrell Hall. Tell you who broke up that wedge, though. Jim Reed came down there and just hurled his body.
Well, that's his kind of football, though.
Yeah.
He and Bob Bronk and Jan Carinci, they all ought to get their own team someday and just go out and hit each other. Don't even use a ball.
Well, let me tell you, they had 65,000 in Toronto last night for Wrestling Mania. Those guys, I'll guarantee you, will put on as good a show as Hulk Hogan. Jan Carinci, he'd like to run into buildings.
No, I think he would. No, he probably has.
Holding Ottawa #65, Toronto #65, first down.
Jan Carinci, what a find he's been for the BC Lions. Let's see now what the Argos elect to do with 1:23 left. They start from their 23-yard line. Craig Ellis. And Ellis has a solid 5 or 6 yards. And he pushes the ball out over the 25 to about the 27-yard line. And of course, with Ellis staying in bounds, the clock will start now that referee Jacques Ducarry has moved away. Ellis has carried the ball tonight 8 times for just 30 yards, but he's been effective running it when they had to. They'll give him a drop play to Ellis, but he doesn't get anywhere. And the Argos will be forced to punt because Henry Taylor, the middle linebacker, was there to make the tackle.
Boy, he made a great play, too. He fought off the block of Bob Bronk and then really put a hit on Craig Ellis.
Got an Ottawa Rough Rider injured.
Ron Engelson, #64, the right defensive tackle.
Now, with 1 minute left on the clock, and Engelson down, the clock is stopped, of course. And with Hank Olisic booting into the wind, he didn't have a particularly good kick last time. After averaging close to 55 yards in this ball game, last time he only hit at 36. So let's see what Ottawa elects to do. They have 2 punt returners back. They've got Kelly Johnson, #3, and Florindo Grilly, #26. You know, while when I see #26, I always think of Whit Tucker, who was such a great receiver here. We had a nice night last night running into another former Ottawa Rough Rider, Joe Poirier.
We sure did, and as a matter of fact, another former Ottawa Rough Rider, Larry Brune, he played for the Hamilton Ticats, defensive back, and of course he was an import that played up here, and one of the fellows that decided to stay in Ottawa, and he opened up a lovely restaurant, the Lone Star, and we had a great time out, good dinner.
Val Belcher is also
right.
in partnership with him in that.
Yeah,
the Lone Star, it is. It's
a nice spot.
Olysic's punt, again, not too deep. This one bounces down to Phil Jones. And Jones is dropped at the 42-yard line with 34 seconds left to play in the second quarter.
You know, it really was fun to sit around with a great player like Joe Poirier and hear some of the stories from days gone by. And, boy, I really enjoyed it.
As I told Joe, I was there the day he made his tackle. Joe was a great defensive back, but was never known as much of a hitter.
No.
But he could cover.
Cover guy.
Yeah. I'll tell you, Larry Brune could hit some.
Oh, no, that was his forte. He
Yeah.
was like a linebacker out there. In fact, he did play a little linebacker.
Hudson makes the catch at the 50-yard line now. He'll have a pickup of about 7 with 29 seconds left.
One of the reasons why the Ottawa coaching staff is not too happy with Mike Hudson is because he's not extremely quick, and the run and shoot, you have to get upfield so quickly to put pressure on the defense, and that's really not Mike's forte.
Going deep for Hudson, and that's exactly the route.
Boy, and just when I said he didn't get upfield too quickly, he found an open spot, and boy, the fans have a right to be disappointed, as well as head coach Joe Moss, because those, you just have to make the catch or you won't be playing anymore.
No, I had a nice long chat with the coaching staff and the general manager of the ball club, Don Holtby. That is the rap about him.
Well, and when you're struggling, too, in a game, and your quarterback finally throws a perfect strike downfield that can get you back into the ball game, it's 21-9. There's a big play. Boy, you need those.
Rodney Harding coming off with Freddie Dunbar. Freddie's always been my idol.
Well, you and he go to the same buffet table.
The same barber.
Same haircut. Freddie's a great guy.
He is. He's a terrific little guy. Never forget, I got off the plane one day in in Florida. That's where it was. There was Freddie. I said, are you down here because you think something bad is going to happen to me or what? But he was coming back from holidays. Ken Clark will be punting. And it's a good one. Carl Brazeley takes it in at the 8-yard line. There's a good hit. Willie Pless threw a terrific block to allow Carl Brazeley to get up over the 40 to the 42-yard line. 52-yard boot by Ken Clark, but a 31-yard return.
Watch the block by number 32, Willie Pless. I mean, he has just done it all tonight. There's number 41. Watch him turn around, and then bang. Ooh, that's great. That's hustle. You know, here's a guy who plays the whole game at outside linebacker where you run a heck of a lot, and he plays on all the special teams and 110% all the time. Very impressive.
Talking about Willie Pless, and it was Willie's block on number 41, Marty Palizzetti, that enabled the Argos to return that punt up to the 40, but that's as far as they're going to go. There is a penalty marker on the play. Ottawa jumped offside.
Well, it's no wonder that general manager Leo Cahill is so high on Willie Pless.
Yeah.
The lead singer of The Glide, too, the song.
Brazeley wrote it, though, didn't he?
Brazeley wrote it, and there was
Illegal procedure, Toronto, no end, which is declined, second down.
Willie Pless was in it. Dennis Clay was in it until he got the gong.
But they're going to do the record, and he's going to get residuals if it sells.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't go buying a new car before the residual comes in.
So Conrad just takes the pass from center and goes down on one knee. And the Toronto Argonauts will be satisfied with their first half performance. There were things about Ottawa's that they should be happy about, but overall they can't be, because the score at halftime here at Lansdowne Park, the Argos 21, the Rough Riders 9.
During our upcoming halftime show, the CFL This Week will review the first half of the 1986 season. Ask the Commissioner with Doug Mitchell returns, and the Pacific Western Airlines Stars of the Week. Leaf, of course, comes back with his analysis of the first half. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
September 6th, CTV has the Crystal Light Canadian National Aerobic Championship with host Alan Thicke and Terry Austin on CTV.
O'Keefe Sports, the CFL This Week. With games played this weekend, every team in the league will reach at least the midway point of their 1986 season, which this year is 18 games long. So what we're going to do tonight is look back over the first half at some of the big games and some of the big plays. The season began with some excitement in Calgary, June the 24th. The club had been saved, there were fans in the seats, and the Stampeders were protecting a late lead. But Edmonton's Matt Dunnigan on the final play of the game finds Stefan Jones behind deep coverage for a 56-yard touchdown and a one-point Edmonton win. Arch rivals Toronto and Hamilton were deadlocked at 20 until Hank Olisic settled the issue with just a minute 15 to play with a 67-yard booming punt single. The Ottawa Rough Riders won their season opener at home on the strength of 4 interceptions by Chris Sigler. Here he returns an errant Joe Barnes offering 70 yards for a Rider Major and a Rider win over Montreal. Week 2 features a bleak Thursday in Edmonton for the BC Lions. Not only did the defending champions get routed, they lose standout receiver Mervyn Fernandez to injury. He is simply irreplaceable. The Lions have missed him since. The Eskimos won this one in a romp. Meanwhile, in Winnipeg, Tom Clements only needs half a ball game to beat Saskatchewan. 20 of 23, 4 touchdown passes, all before intermission. This no contest. Week 3, the Bomber juggernaut bogs down in Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton. The Tiger Cat defense forces 9 turnovers, including 3 interceptions by this man, Mark Streeter, 2 of which lead to touchdowns. 28-11 Tiger Cats in an upset. Meanwhile, Canadian running back Chris Skinner grabs the spotlight in Regina. He leads the Eskimos with 158 yards along the ground, including this nifty touchdown run from midfield. Edmonton wins again. Week 4, you will remember this episode in Calgary. The clock runs out on the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Coach Al Bruno is incensed, but the Tabbies lose the game 24-21 and $5,000 after launching an unsuccessful appeal. And still, no one is taking the Stampeders seriously. The Montreal Alouettes wait until week 5 to win their first of the year in Ottawa. With just over a minute to play, James Hood takes the Brian Ransom pass, 58 yards for the winning touchdown. They win by 1. Now we get to the first of 2 heartstoppers between Toronto and Edmonton. This takes place in week 6. Short toss here. Condredge Holloway to Chris Woods. He then runs the ball into field goal range with just seconds left to play. The CFL's leading place kicker misses the field goal attempt, but Lance Chomick gets the only point the Argonauts need to win by 1. Week 7 in Toronto. It is the Rick Johnson show. The Stampeders now showing they are indeed for real, winning 31-26, while Johnson completes 26 passes for 366 yards. The next night, under the dome, the CFL's leading punt returner has an outstanding game against the Western Riders. Darnell Clash takes this one back 66 yards to score. The Lions going on to win 39-24. Now to Edmonton in week 8, and the Eskimo defense finds a way to full stop the Winnipeg offense. They sack Tom Clements for a safety, 33-5, Edmonton winning. Now we go to Hamilton. The story here is defense again. Mark Streeter intercepts Saskatchewan's Joe Paopao late in the game to set up the winning field goal by Bernie Ruoff. Meanwhile, last week in BC, the Calgary defense prevents the Lions from running away with the West. Vince Goldsmith scores on the Roy DeWalt fumble, while the offense does its part too, 30-14 the final. The Argonauts and the Eskimos had their rematch. Again, it goes to the final play, but Edmonton cannot find the end zone. Toronto holds on 26-20 to build as big a lead in the East as the Lions have in the West. Certainly for football fans, there has been lots of excitement in the first half of the CFL season. We all hope there will be just as much excitement in the second half. Checking the CFL slate for the rest of this weekend, there are no games on Saturday. Action resumes on Sunday with Winnipeg at Saskatchewan. 2 games on holiday Monday, Montreal at Hamilton, the CTV game. It's an afternoon contest, Edmonton against Calgary. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. Halftime continues in a moment.
This fall, the best
The CFL's most outstanding players in the offensive, defensive, and lineman categories are recognized as Pacific Western Airlines Stars of the Week. The defensive star went to Les Brown of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. His 4 interceptions tied a CFL record, and an assist on another was rewarded with a touchdown as he took the Ben Zambiazzi lateral in to score. Vince Goldsmith, number 78 of the Calgary Stampeders, earned lineman star. With 2 of 6 Calgary sacks and a fumble recovery for a touchdown, he helped the charging Stampeders dominate BC 30-14. Tonight, our CTV profile focuses on offensive star Tom Clements. The Winnipeg quarterback completed 27 of 36 attempts for 3 touchdowns. This 12-year CFL veteran led Winnipeg to a convincing win over Ottawa.
Everybody in the locker room will tell you, if Tommy mixes his game well, we do well. If we start getting stagnant or start calling the same plays that aren't working, then we're in trouble. We seem to fall behind, and then we try to struggle. We're not really a great team so far as coming back from adversity.
This year is pretty similar to last year and even the Grey Cup year. We started off the season a little slowly offensively, and then we just seemed to build a little momentum, and we got confidence in what we were doing. We just played better once the middle of the season came and the end of the season. I really can't put my finger on any reason why in the past few years it always seems that we start off slow and then start playing a little better, but I hope we continue to play better.
Any good quarterback will tell you he needs 2 good receivers, and Clements has Joe Poposky and James Murphy. Combined, they've caught 92 passes this year.
They have a lot of talent. They get open, they catch the ball, and as a quarterback, that's what you look for. And especially Murph, after he catches the ball, he's a great runner with it too, so he can turn a short throw into a long gainer. And when you've had success with people, you just keep coming back to them.
You can tell when he really has things going well because he keeps the teams off balance. And Tom is right. Tom keeps the defense on their heels.
But for how long will he be keeping them on their heels? Now preparing to write his bar exam in the state of Illinois in February, Tom's legal career is about to start.
My plan right now is I'd like to play for at least 2 more years after this year, and then at the end of that time assess the situation, see how things are going. And if the firm I'm with would still allow me to practice with them part-time in the off-season, if I still feel good about playing football, still doing fairly well, then I'll continue to play. But right now I'm just shooting for 2 more years, and we'll see what happens after that.
This Stars of the Week profile has been brought to you by Pacific Western Airlines, serving over 40 Canadian destinations. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
Your United Way dollar is working every day of the year. At the Canadian National Institute for the Blind, this means recreation programs for the visually impaired, adjustment to blindness training, development of specialized equipment, and employment opportunities. All of these help the visually disabled to live independent lives.
I have seen what our United Way dollars can do. Thanks to you, it works for all of us, the United Way.
Argonauts and the Ottawa Rough Riders, we are at halftime at Lansdowne Park. Roy Allen of Scarborough, Ontario, has written into the Canadian Football League to ask the commissioner, and tonight we feature his question. What is the CFL's relationship with the European Football Federation and the International Football Federation? Do they play by Canadian or American rules? Doug Mitchell.
Well, Dan, 8 countries over in Europe belong to the European Football League, and we joined what they called or formed the International Football Federation, and we're a member, and really Canada is represented by the Canadian Football League. They're playing American rules right now, NCAA rules with 4 down, so that the Canadian college team would go over there and play in the European Football Championship, which they hope they will in the next couple of years. They'd have to play NCAA rules.
What are the advantages to the CFL and CFL fans of having this link with Europe?
Well, I think there's tremendous potential there for young Canadian players to have an opportunity to go over there and play after they finish their college careers. They have about 400 teams now with 3 imports on each team. They hope to have about 800 teams, so they're going to be positioned for a couple of hundred players to go over there and play and coach and have an opportunity to continue football and perhaps even come back later to the CFL.
Doug Mitchell, the commissioner of the Canadian Football League, and you can ask him a question that will be answered here on CTV. Here is the address. Now back to Pat and Leaf.
Thank you, Dan. If they ever decide to play against those European teams, I hope we make the road trips.
Wouldn't that be great? I wouldn't mind that.
Tell me this, the Argos capitalized on their opportunities as we take a look at the statistical story. 157 to 128, but again, the turnovers. 4 for Ottawa and only 1 for the Argos, and that really has been the story.
Yeah, it has, Pat. The Argonauts got off to just a great start after a Cliff Hewitt interception. Conrad Holloway does an excellent job stepping up into the pocket, avoid the rush, and look at the speed of Chris Woods. He just simply outruns the coverage, and that was the Argonauts' first touchdown. They jump ahead early, 7-0. They came back in the second quarter. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good because Conrad Holloway really shouldn't have thrown to Craig Ellis. Double coverage, he got in behind it. He picked up his second touchdown of the ball game, and that's where we stand now at halftime with the Toronto Argonauts out in front, 21-9.
Couldn't help but think as I was watching your highlights that Toronto made the catches and Ottawa didn't.
Oh, no question. Mike Hudson had a chance to get them back late in the second quarter. Todd Gillen, who's been struggling in the first half, threw a perfect strike, and Big Mike couldn't hang on.
Well, if you want to know anything about the Canadian Football League, you'll find it in their very impressive fact book, and it can be yours for $14.95 at bookstores across the country, or by sending $14.95 plus $3 for handling to 1200 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, M5R 2A5. Dean Dorsey kicks it off deep to Ken Joyner at the 14-yard line. Well, Joyner did a beautiful job. He just allowed everything to open up. He didn't rush in there, allowed the blocks to be made, and then turned on the jets and got to the 41-yard line. So again, the Argos are going to start in pretty good shape. And the thing that I think is really wonderful from a Toronto point of view is the fact that Conrad Holloway really has not been physically abused so far this evening.
Well, they've done a pretty good job protecting him here in the first half.
He's been sacked 4 times, but no real shots at him. The ball popped out of his hands, and Conrad's very alertly dove on it.
He gave it the double clutch there.
Yeah. Ottawa's not out of this ball game. People are going to say, well, I mean, what is he cheering for Ottawa? I could care less who wins this football game. But I say this much. Toronto capitalized on their opportunities. Ottawa did not. But Ottawa's still in the game, only down by 12 points.
Well, they sure are. You know, a lot of people may think when we're talking about sacks in the offensive line and so forth that they had 4 in the first half, and we said, well, that's not really too bad. Well, you know, it isn't too bad because Toronto's a team that does not rush the football very much or very well. So they become very predictable. And for pass rushers, it's easy. You just pin your ears back and come. So 4 sacks really wasn't that damaging.
Dave Kersinger leaves the field, and apparently he's going to be all right. That's JC just staying loose on the sidelines in case anything should happen to Conrad.
Well, I wonder what kind of reaction he would receive if he gets to come into the ball game tonight.
You know, he's a very likable human being, and he's a very good person. And I saw a clip on television last night locally. He had tears in his eyes, actually, talking about, you know, how disappointed he was in leaving Ottawa. Pass is caught by Joyner. And look at the effort he gives the Argos as he makes the catch and then twists and turns his way into the 53-yard line for a pickup of 18 yards. Ken Joyner having a good game, his 4th reception for 61 yards.
Yeah, that's a nice catch, too. He gets it right in between Rick Sovieta and the defensive back Chris Ziegler, and that's the second nice catch Ken Joyner's made. Made a beautiful leaping, diving catch in the first half. You know, I walked in off the bus yesterday with J.C. Watts as he came in to get dressed for practice. And I said, it must feel a little strange to be going to the other side of the field today. And he said, it really is an eerie kind of feeling.
Holloway is dropped by Greg Marshall back at the 51-yard line. His 3rd sack of the night.
You know, his job was on the line some weeks ago, and they were really going to sit him out and play someone else. But due to an injury, Greg Marshall played. And apparently the last couple of games he's played, head coach Joe Moss said he has never seen Greg Marshall play better. So a little bit of faith there. He was almost on his way out, and now 3 sacks tonight.
It was the game against British Columbia that he played so well.
That's right.
Joe's comment was, good is good for some people. Better is desirable for somebody of the caliber of Greg Marshall. In other words, he wasn't playing badly, but he wasn't playing outstandingly, and that's what they have to have from him. Holloway's pass is caught by Cox up around the Ottawa 48-yard line. He was hit there by Chris Ziegler, number 38, who started off the season in sensational fashion with 4 interceptions in one ball game. He now has 5.
Well, they didn't pick up the first down, but they did a positive thing. They got a reception. They got about 12 yards back. And now with Hank Olisic kicking from in Ottawa territory, they have a chance to pin Ottawa deep.
Ziegler is the only man back, number 38. Olisic kicks it away from him. And Ziegler takes it on the run. This is another guy in that Jan Karinci mold. This guy loves to hit people, and he loves to return punts and all the crazy things about this game. So Ziegler gives Ottawa possession, and we'll see what they can do with it when we come back. It is Toronto 29, the Rough Riders 9.
The Ottawa Rough Riders may be losing tonight, but somebody having a lot of fun out there is number 3, Kelly Johnson, another of the ex-USFLers. The bad news for him, of course, is that the Argonaut defense is giving him some trouble, but he says he loves the contact in this league. The CFL is far more physical than he had expected.
Tom Burgess is in there right now at quarterback for Ottawa as they pull the plug on Todd Dillon. And on the first play, he hands off to Jim Reed on the draw play, and Reed gets to the 30 and not much further.
I don't think Kelly thought he was coming up to play in a touch football league, did he? Sure they hit up here.
Pickup is actually 3 yards, so make it 2nd and 7. The ball is spotted at the 31-yard line. Like his predecessor before him, Tom Burgess has all kinds of problems because David Marshall, 73, Willie Pless, 32, and Doug Nicholas, number 70, were all surrounding him.
They had a team meeting back there.
Yeah, they met at the quarterback. There was a holding infraction against Ottawa, declined.
Holding Ottawa, number 32, which is declined. 3rd down.
Jim Reed, the fullback, called for holding. Argos decline it. Ken Clark will be punting, with Chris Woods back standing at the Toronto 43. The wind favors Ken Clark in this quarter. He doesn't get a hold of that one as well as he would have liked, and he didn't get the bounce that he was hoping for either. Chris Woods is forced out at the 50-yard line. There is another penalty marker down on the field. And actually, this game has been fairly penalty-free to this point. 21-9, Argos lead. We'll come back, tell you about the penalty, and see what the Argos are up to in a moment.
Illegal block. Toronto, number 75. 1st down.
That's Steve Delcole called for the illegal block. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that it has really cooled off here in Ottawa. The temperature is obviously dropping. It was an absolutely outstanding day. Autumn, mind you, even though it is August, but it was a lovely, lovely day. There's the score with 11 minutes left to play in the 3rd quarter. Argos have a 1st down at their 40-yard line. Over the middle, it's complete to Craig Ellis, and he really couldn't get too far because he was upended by the middle linebacker, Henry Taylor, after a pickup of, well, pretty good 7 or 8 yards.
Yeah, that's a good 1st down call, and a great call to involve Craig Ellis in your offense. Watch, he just fakes a little block here, cuts back over the middle. He makes a nice catch, too. Watch how he takes it in the hands and all in one motion pivots to try to get away from Henry Taylor. That's a great play.
2nd down, a couple of yards to go for the 1st down, and Holloway's going to try to pass for it. And does over the middle for the 1st down, up around the 53-yard line, with Craig Ellis again making the catch. And the tackle being made by Craig Walls, number 60, the outside linebacker, and 42, Henry Taylor.
Well, here's a guy who's led the CFL the last 2 years, so you would expect that they would really try and involve them in their offense, and they have tonight.
First down, Argos. The ball just on their side of midfield. Holloway throws. And Ken Joyner tried to grab it with one hand, but Greg Marshall, for the second time in this ball game, was able to deflect the pass. That was the reason for the incompletion.
8 years of pro football for Greg Marshall, and his second tip. Had trouble getting that one out.
12 out of 19 in passing for Conrad Holloway tonight. 192 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception.
Gentlemen, you were talking about Greg Marshall. I have a quick comment from him. He said that the defense is going to stiffen right here early in the third quarter and stop all the Argonaut offensive momentum. He says that's not a problem, but with something of an ominous undertone, he said it is now the offense's turn to get it cranked up.
Well, he's right, because the defense certainly gave them the ball in favorable field position on a couple of occasions, and they did absolutely nothing with it. Ken Joyner seems to be all right.
Greg Marshall in 1983 was the Shenley Defensive Player of the Year. Seems like he's been an all-star every time you look.
Yeah, he's been up here now for 8 years from Oregon State and really has been a good one. Paul Pearson is in the ball game. They were not going to go to Paul unless absolutely necessary. Obi May feels that the offense has slowed down a little bit. Over the middle it goes and complete to the 45-yard line. There is a penalty marker down. The catch was made by Mike Sharaska. And with Joyner out of the ball game, Pearson came in. But they went to the other receiver, Mike Sharaska from the University of Calgary.
They've got some flexibility, too. They're able to... Kenny Joyner goes out, as Pat mentioned, but Pearson comes in, and they just shift Steve Cox out to that wide receiver
Offside,
spot.
Ottawa number 66, which is declined. First down.
That is Steve Cox's normal position to be a wide receiver, so they really don't lose anything.
Talking to Paul Pearson before the ball game tonight, he tells me that he feels his experience is his greatest asset. Conrad's is sacked this time from the blind side by James Curry. And that's the kind that really can hurt the quarterback if the guy unloads, but he did not. He just grabbed him and threw him down for a loss of 7.
How many sacks is that tonight? 7 sacks for the Ottawa Rough Riders. And James Curry and Greg Marshall really have given the Toronto offensive tackles Kelvin Prunster and Jeff Inglis trouble tonight. Those 2 defensive ends have really been coming hard.
So it's second down, 17 yards to go. Argos, they're now back at the Ottawa 53. Flag is down. The pass is caught up around the 35-yard line by Joyner. But let's see what the penalty marker is about. Normally, you would suspect that it is holding, and it is.
Boy, James Curry really got in quickly again on Conrad Holloway. Jeff Inglis, he just blew right around him. Simple as that. And once again, Conrad Holloway takes a hit.
James Curry. He's made the rounds.
You know, I don't know if it was Jeff Inglis that's going to get called for holding, but if some guy beats you badly and your quarterback's as vulnerable as Conrad, you've got to just drag him down anyway.
Holding Toronto number 66, second down.
Well, it's Kelvin Prunster. It's the other side.
Watch James Curry just go flying around Jeff Inglis, and Conrad takes the shot in the back.
So Ottawa forced them back to the Argo 48-yard line. It's second down and about 27 yards to go for the first down. Conrad's pass is caught by Steve Cox. He does a little pirouette and then is dropped to the Ottawa 53, so he'll be well short of the first down, but he gets some of it back. Chris Sigler was there to make the tackle, number 38, but again, the Ottawa defense did its job with 7 minutes and 55 seconds left to play in the third quarter. It is Toronto 21, Ottawa 9, just as it was at halftime.
Well, Kenny Joyner's looking back for the pass, and Chris Ziegler just runs right over him. Well, that happens.
Ziegler is joined back there by number 26, Clorindo Grilly. Ziegler picks it up at the 16, puts his head down, gets to the 23, so that's where the Rough Riders are going to begin when we come back. It is still the Argos 21, the Rough Riders 9. We'll return in a moment. Is with the Sooners. And the only game that Ottawa has lost this year has been to Burlington, so that'll be a real battle. 1 o'clock tomorrow in Burlington. Burgess reloaded. Tried to find Mark Lewis, but the pass was just slightly underthrown. Burgess on in relief of Todd Dillon. Second down, 10 yards to go. Rough Riders at their own 23. Only 7 minutes left to play in the third quarter. They have not been able to get anything going offensively so far. That pass was sidearmed into the turf.
Well, Jim Reed's complaining they were trying to set up the screen, and somebody just recognized it. I don't know which defensive lineman it was, but they grabbed him and held him and wouldn't let him get out. Finally, Burgess had to get rid of the football. But if you're a defensive lineman and you see that happening, boy, that's the first thing you do. Try and knock that back out so he can't catch the pass.
Kenny Clark, one of 2 Ottawa Rough Riders, born in Great Britain. The other is Robert Reed, which is a little bit unusual.
Kenny Clark kicked in a Super Bowl for the Los Angeles Rams. Quite an honor.
Yeah. And also kicked in the World Football League, of course.
Portland.
Yeah. This is Chris Woods. Ooh, again, another big block. And a penalty marker comes down. Carl Brazeley really unloaded on Greg Miller. Oh. The Argos are obviously taking great pride in nailing some people here tonight.
Well, as so often happens on special teams, you really get some blindside shots sometimes. And that time, Carl Brazeley could see it coming and then just really unload it.
Illegal block. Toronto, number 32. First down.
Willie Pless called for an illegal block. Tomorrow on your favorite CTV station, you'll see Pro Beach Volleyball and the other lineup that we've got for you. 4 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. Craig Ellis nailed in the backfield by James Curry. He's having a big game, too.
Boy, he sure is. When we look ahead for our Carling O'Keefe offensive and defensive game stars defensively, boy, there's a lot of guys that have played well tonight. Willie Pless, James Curry, Greg Marshall. Tough decision we're going to have to make.
It'll be a real fight for that gold coin.
Seems to be every week.
Players love it, and they want to know who wins, too. Second down, about 12 yards to go from the 30. Holloway from the shotgun looks. Joyner appeared to make a great catch. Now penalty marker comes down. Joyner coughed up the football on his way down, and they are going to rule pass interference.
Joe can't believe it. That's the kind of smirk that says, you got to be kidding me.
Forward pass interference. Ottawa, number 18. First down.
That's the newcomer, Calvin Lovall from Idaho, number 18. Let's take a look at him.
Well, he does make contact before the ball arrives. There's no question about that.
So it's pass interference. First down.
Oh, yeah, he's right in there before. That's a good call.
The ball is at the Ottawa 53. Here's the reverse to Chris Woods. What a block by Conrad Holloway on James Curry.
Oh, Connie may wish he didn't do that. Oh, he nailed James Curry. They're both down. This is like a tag team.
No, you know, we were talking about Conrad and what a courageous guy he is. I mean, here he is taking on 6'2", 235-pound James Curry, who is also still down. Curry didn't see him coming, and Conrad really cut him. I mean, it was a cross-body block that was perfectly executed, except that Conrad is also down.
The pitch to Craig Ellis. He'll flip back to Chris Woods, and Ottawa really reads it perfectly. Watch the block. There's James Curry. Oh, what a hit. Oh.
May got his head in there.
Well, he gets his head and his shoulder. Both players are down.
We are going to see J.C. Watts.
Yeah, Pat, something a little on the brighter side maybe. Just before the Argonaut offense went back on, I had a chat with Ken Joyner, the Toronto wide receiver, who's been open all night long. In fact, just caught a pass 2 plays ago. And he was saying that the Riders have been going with man coverage 3 deep almost exclusively all night long. And as Condredge told us off the top of the show, that's exactly what the Argonauts had expected. So they've really been prepared for the kind of defense they're seeing tonight, which in part accounts for how well they're playing.
I think Kenny has just told us about a new defense. If they're
man
playing
3 deep. It's a heck of a combination. You know what I like? Did you see the close-up of Conrich all the way down the field? He was calling over and inquiring about James Curry to see if he was okay, too. Not only Conrich hurt, but, well, here's the reaction. I think it's half and half.
I think it's more booze.
Do you?
I think it's kind of too bad, too, because the guy tried as hard as he could.
Sure.
And he was a good citizen and everything else, but they pay their money to see good football, and they didn't see it with JC, but here's that hit again.
Oh, that's some block.
Yep.
Boy, oh boy. I think Conrich Holloway's all right. James Curry, on the other hand, I think he's got some knee problems.
All right, the pickup was only 3 yards. Let's see what J.C. Watts can do. He had no success at all against Edmonton on a 2nd and 7. His pass is caught by Mike Sharaska for the first down inside the 30 to the 28. Darrell Hall made the hit, but a lovely pass, a good catch, and a big game of 21 yards.
That was a great read by J.C. Watts. Zone defense. He had Mike Sarashka running down the seam and breaking to the outside. He threw the ball into an open area before he even broke, and Sarashka makes a good hit, or a good catch, and takes a heck of a hit from Darrell Hall. That was a good throw by J.C. That's tough coming in cold.
First down, Argos inside the Ottawa 30. J.C. is wrapped up by the middle linebacker, Henry Taylor, and dropped. For a loss of a couple, now we've got a penalty marker down. And we've also got some shoving going on. Chris Ziegler and number 66, Kelvin Prunster, having a little run.
It's Lloyd Lewis, number 76.
I was thinking to myself, why would Ziegler want to get involved with somebody?
We'd have to give him an IQ test to take on Kelvin Prunster. Kelvin's 6'6", 265. Lloyd Lewis, he fights with a lot of guys, so in the games I've seen, he's always pushing and fighting with somebody, so it's not surprising. Pick on Kelvin, he can handle himself.
There's James.
Well, I hope he's all right, because he's had a great game. Boy, he's bounced around a lot, but every team he's played for, he's played super.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, he started with BC, didn't he?
Yeah. Started with BC, went to Winnipeg, then to Toronto, and then to Montreal this year, and now to Ottawa.
Well, he's seen a lot of the Great White North.
Well, that's what Craig Ellis says. If you want to see Canada, join the Canadian Football League.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Ottawa, number 76. First down.
Well, as Leaf pointed out, it was Lloyd Lewis.
We'll see if we can find out where this play originated, or where the little scrap started.
Yeah, nope. I think we just missed it, but I think it started right at the conclusion of that play. Craig Ellis. Ellis doesn't get much as he gets inside the 15. Well, you've got to think that if Ottawa has any shot at this football game, they've got to stop Toronto from scoring a touchdown right now. 3 minutes, 40 seconds left to play in the third quarter. Toronto 21, Ottawa 9. I would not want to be in an enclosed area with Joe Moss if he was mad at me.
No, he gets wild.
JC's pass intended for Pearson was just a little too far.
You know, I think that's partly due to the hamstring injury, too. He just needed to stretch that extra half step, and it's just not there. And sometimes you hold back just a touch when you know your leg's bothering you. And that's not a knock on Paul Pearson by any means, but he's got to stay healthy because they've got a receiver out and they've got nobody left after him.
Paul's another little gutsy guy. You know, he's not a very big fellow, and he's taken his hits and everything else. He's also had an awful lot of injuries, and he tries to play through them. As Lance Chomick, the CFL's most accurate kicker with an unbelievable 91.3 percentage, comes on to try a 22-yarder. And it is good. Well, the Ottawa Rough Riders will not be happy, but at least they're still in the football game, trailing by 15 points, 24-9, with 2:55 left to play in this third quarter. And Ottawa, not having much success in returning kickoffs, has elected to take this at the 35.
Yeah, I think that's a good move.
Well, on Labor Day, right here on CTV, you'll see one of the real classics at a sold-out McMahon Stadium in Calgary. It'll be the Edmonton Eskimos. That'll be a great football game. That's one I just would not want to miss. Robert Reed, the ball carrier, is out over the 45 to the 47 before Cliff Hewitt brings him down.
The word from the Ottawa bench is that James Curry has an indeterminate injury to his knee, but he is gone for the game. They need x-rays on him, and Condredge Holloway is still very woozy, but they don't think he's hurt. He could be back.
Thank you, Dan. The Rough Riders begin from their 47 after that first down run. Burgess wanted to set up the screen, but got so much pressure. As Leaf said, you want those rushing defensive linemen to come barging through, but you'd like to hold them up for at least a portion of a count so that they're not in the quarterback's face the moment he drops back.
Well, the rule of thumb's about a 2 count as we see Condredge Holloway. I think he got that neck smacked a little bit when he stuck it in there, sure. But about a 2 count for those linemen, and then let them come. They're getting through far too easily. I'll tell you, Monday, I am scheduling my day around that 4 o'clock Eastern Standard start. Edmonton and Calgary. What a game that's going
to be. And the place will be hopping. Bob Vespasiani and his guys have done such an outstanding job in making Calgary one of the most exciting teams in the league. Penalty marker is down in the area where the pass was thrown. Now let's see what this is about.
A real square-off between two bright young quarterbacks, Matt Dunnigan, Rick Johnson.
Boy, Rick Johnson and Matt Dunnigan, two of the most exciting players in the league. And let's not forget to say something about our old friend Tommy Clemens, who's having just an outstanding season.
Offensive star of the week last week. Had a great, outstanding game against these Ottawa Rough Riders last week. James Murphy, too, playing extremely well. 60-some catches already. Whew.
Ottawa's going to get a bit of a break here. They're going to pick up the first down into Toronto territory at the 52-yard line. Let's listen to the call.
Illegal block, Toronto number 17, first down.
Kerry Parker.
It's the second time he's been called for that tonight. I mean, they've really taken that talk that Dennis Meyer had with him to heart about jamming those receivers.
First down, Rough Riders in Toronto territory with 1:40 left in the quarter. They set the screen up. Carl Braisley almost picked that one off and bounced out of the hands of Clorindo Grilly. Now, how do you spell Clorindo? Because it's not a name that you hear every day. C-L-O-R-I-N-D-O. Clorindo Grilly had it pop out of his hands as Burgess was trying to set up the screen pass. Burgess has not completed a pass since coming into the ball game in relief of Todd Dillon. He is 0 for 4. And this time he goes deep, puts it up, and just beyond Brad Caleb. You know, Leaf, if he'd put a little more air under that ball and let him run underneath it, it would have been a major, major play.
I think you're right.
Just missed him by inches.
You know, if you're a receiver, it's a tough thing to do. You've got to keep those arms in till the last second and just then all of a sudden thrust them out at the end and dive for it. You know, the moment you take your arms and extend them, you lose a little running speed. It's a tough thing to do, though.
Well, here's that weird formation again, but Ottawa's going to try it. Oh, great catch by Mark Lewis. All over him was Carl Braisley, but he makes the catch, and and he keeps Ottawa's drive alive, and he gives the Rough Riders possession inside the Toronto 30-yard line with exactly 1 minute left. Let's look. This was a third down play.
Well, how can you cover this any better? Look at Carl Bracely. In fact, it might even been a little bit of interference. No flag thrown, but what a catch by Mark Lewis. And these are the kind of plays you're going to have now if they want to get back into it.
If Mark Lewis had not made that catch and no flag had been thrown, they'd have been coming out of the stands.
Well, Joe Moss's blood pressure would have been right off the scale.
Burgess' pass is caught down around the 6-yard line.
Well,
that's Mark Lewis.
One official's waving it off. I don't know if they're going to bring it back. Yes, they are.
They are.
One official signaled catch. Now, he could not see the play perfectly. The other official that could see the play perfectly waved the catch off. We're going to have a good look at it right here.
Boy, that's a great call by them, though, because who could have seen that other than our camera and an official right on the spot? Well, the Argos played that well. They invited him to throw. He couldn't find anybody open. They allowed him to run and then just converged on him after he picked up about 6 yards. Cliff Hewitt with the tackle.
That's maybe one of the toughest plays for a defensive back. When do I leave my man and come up and make a play on the quarterback? And he just did it perfectly.
Now, the fans are not too happy. It is third down, 3 yards to go. Rough Riders, the ball is at the Toronto 23-yard line. They've got to get just inside the 20. But apparently, they are not going to go for it. They are going to go for the field goal try by Dean Dorsey. It'll come from the 30. And it is good. So on the final play of the third quarter, Dean Dorsey comes through with his 4th field goal of the evening. The Toronto Argonauts have doubled the score on the Ottawa Rough Riders after 3 quarters. They lead it 24-12. We'll return with the 4th quarter in a moment. After the Ottawa field goal, the kickoff is returned by Craig Ellis. And Ellis gets it up over the 40 to the 43. It was not a particularly long kickoff, as Dorsey and Ken Clark are now kicking and punting into the wind. And it's picking up in intensity. Let's take a look and see what has happened statistically after 3 quarters of play. Really, the Argos have not done a whole lot themselves. As you see, 206 yards. That's net yards, of course. Ottawa has turned the ball over 4 times, and on 3 of those occasions, it resulted directly in Argo touchdowns. With J.C. Watts at quarterback, the former Ottawa Rough Rider and Oklahoma Sooner starts from his 43. Ooh, that one was very, very nearly picked off, too. It was intended for Chris Woods. It bounced out of his hands and hit the turf before Dennis Clay, the former Argonaut, number 14, was able to grab it.
Oh, don't you think he'd like to have an interception tonight?
22,367 would probably have been very excited to see him do just that, too.
Yeah.
That's the attendance here tonight. 24-12. The Argos lead Ottawa. If you've just joined us, 14-3. Toronto at the end of the first quarter, 21-9 at halftime. J.C. Watts will not get it away. He's sacked back at the 33-yard line. Well, I suggested to you off the top of the show that the Argos were going to go as far as Conrad Holloway was going to take them. And with him out of the ball game, Argos have got a bit of a problem.
Wow, did Lloyd Lewis just blow through there. Whew. 8th sack of the ball game for the Ottawa defensive line.
Lloyd Lewis, of course, is number 76. Sacks against. Well, the Argos are 9th in the CFL. You can't get much lower than that, can you?
No. It's been a real problem for them this year.
This is Clarindo Grilli. And with a lot of hustle, he gets out over the 35 to the 38-yard line. And that's where the Ottawa Rough Riders are going to put it into play. Now, if the Argos give up a touchdown here to Ottawa, we've got ourselves a real ball game. It's 24-12.
You know, the Ottawa Rough Rider offensive coaches must be so frustrated tonight because they've had so many great scoring opportunities and just have not been able to come up with a touchdown yet. 4 field goals by Dean Dorsey, however, but boy, you've got to get that ball into the end zone at some point.
Leaf, the man with the hat on beside Joe Moss was Bob Swift, a former Toronto Argonaut who is here in Ottawa coaching their offensive line. Flag is thrown. We're going to have a holding call against number 53 of the Ottawa Rough Riders, Jerry Hornett, their offensive center, against number 70, Doug Mikolas. Mikolas was getting ready to hop on Burgess, and you'll hear the result from referee Jacques Picari.
Mikolas has done a pretty good job putting pressure on the quarterback tonight. He's playing. Gerald Bayless played there in his first game last week. Injured a hamstring, and now Mikolas gets to play.
Ottawa number 53, first down over.
Holding was the call. And as Leaf said, that really has been one of the major concerns for head coach Pavel Bilovich. The lack of pressure from that front line, but he's getting it much better tonight. Burgess' pass is caught over the middle by number 26, and that's Clorindo Grilly. Don Moen was there to make the tackle for Toronto.
Of course,
Grilly in there replacing Leaf.
Mark Barus re-injured that hamstring in the second quarter. Mike Hudson was in to play for Mark Barus. He dropped the ball, so now they're going to give Clorindo Grilly a shot. We saw him a couple of weeks ago. He started the game, in fact, 2 weeks ago against the BC Lions. He's a graduate of York University, or actually McMaster, I'm sorry, not York, McMaster in Hamilton.
Second down, Ottawa, about 15 yards to go. And the handoff goes to Brad Caleb, number 23, which I don't imagine delights the Ottawa crowd too much, because on 2nd and 15, you would expect to see the ball in the air. Well, mind you, Ottawa's had such little success throwing the ball tonight.
It's almost like giving up running the ball on 2nd and 12. I don't like it, but I'm not calling the plays, thank God.
Chris Woods drops back. There is an Argo injury, and that's going to cause a bit of a delay. Don Moen is down on one knee, does not appear to be seriously injured. And this all comes with 12 minutes and 30 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter. 56 degrees, incidentally, is the temperature here at Lansdowne Park.
Feels colder than 56. Old Freddie's been doing his wind sprints tonight out there. He's had a fair bit of work, hasn't he? Trainers are special kind of guys, and Freddie falls into that category. Great sense of humor, good personality, and you know when you have to deal with the personalities on a football club, it takes a special guy. Ray Jones is like that in Hamilton, too.
Ken Clark's punt is end over end and then bounces back towards Ottawa. They're trying to get away from it. Well, you see, this is exactly the thing that is going to drive everybody nuts. The flag is thrown. It was an obvious no yards penalty, but they were trying to get out of the way, and they instituted a rule suggesting that the flag wouldn't be thrown. We'll find out about it when we come back. It's Toronto 24, Ottawa 12, and we'll return in a moment.
The last time the Ottawa defense was on the field, Lloyd Lewis was able to get to J.C. Watts, and Lloyd says it's fun playing against J.C., except it reminds him of practice every day.
Well, J.C. is the man at the controls for the Toronto Argonauts after the injury by Conrad Holloway when he threw a cross-body block at James Curry. Argos start at their 45-yard line. The handoff goes to Craig Ellis, who dives his way to the 50 for a pickup of 5.
Incidentally, while we were away at commercial, there was no penalty on that last punting situation for the Ottawa Rough Riders. They threw the flag anticipating no yards, but it was number 13, Ken Clark, their kicker, who was in that 5-yard restraining zone. So no flag, no penalty.
11:35 left in the fourth quarter. Toronto 24, Ottawa 12. Argos with a 2nd and 5. Watts' pass is complete to Ken Joyner, who has the first down in Ottawa territory at the 52-yard line. Chris Sigler, number 38, and Calvin Lovall combined to bring him down.
Well, nothing fancy about this. Just go down about 6-7 yards. That's how far you need a first down. Here's Kenny Joyner. Good look at him. Calvin Lovell is giving him lots of room, and Chris Ziegler cannot slide out underneath that. That's an easy throw, easy catch, and a first down.
Another Ottawa injury, and this time it's Lloyd Lewis. They've already lost James Curry, and now Lewis will have to leave the playing field. Incidentally, Joyner, who made that last catch, has grabbed 5 tonight for 69 yards, so that's a good return to the lineup for him. Coming into that Ottawa defensive alignment is Marty Palazetti.
Well, they'll shift to a 3-4 structured defense now. 4 linebackers, 3 down linemen. Ron Engelson actually shifts out to be the defensive end.
On first down, the give is to Craig Ellis. And Ellis gets inside the 50 to about the 48-yard line. He'll have a pickup of 3 or 4.
Geez, there's been some pretty good hitting at the point of attack. There's some good helmet popping all the way up here in the booth tonight.
Well, there's no question that both defenses have played well.
Yeah, I think they have.
Ottawa's offense has really been something less than sensational. And the Argos hasn't been great, except they capitalized on the opportunities presented to them early in the ball game. So it's second down, about 7 yards to go. Flag is down, but JC isn't. The guy can really run. There's no question about that. And if it stands, he's inside the Ottawa 35 to about the 31. Darrell Hall finally made the stop, but I suspect it'll come back. We'll have a holding penalty.
Remember JC, and I think it was the 1981 Grey Cup in Montreal against Edmonton. I mean, he ran all over the field, had himself some kind of game.
There's another very controversial play in that game. You remember
Tony Gabriel and
holding Toronto number 65, second down over.
The defensive back involved was a guy named Hayes. Gary Hayes, was it? For Edmonton? Yeah, number 28.
Hayes,
yeah, I played against Gary Hayes. Drove me nuts. All he did was talk all game.
Well, I'll tell you, then there must have been a lot of conversation going on. Dan Peshnig was called for holding.
He's in replacing Dave Kurtzinger, as a matter of fact, at that right guard spot.
JC's pass is picked off. Number 24 for the Ottawa Rough Riders is Darrell Hall. He gives Ottawa possession with 9:39 left to play in this fourth quarter.
Well, JC threw 9 of them before he left Ottawa. This is his 10th of 1986. And here's Chris Woods kind of just loafing down on an out pattern, but a ball that should not have been thrown was intercepted.
Toronto 24, Ottawa 12. Can the Rough Riders capitalize? We'll find out when we come back in a moment.
I understand Dave Kurzinger, who came over from the Calgary Stampeders, fractured his hand in the third quarter, so that's why they've made the change to Dan Peshnik. But I had a nice chat with Dave before the ball game, and I said, Dave, quite frankly, why did you want out of Calgary? And he said, well, I was the rep there and the captain, and I had to do so many things. He said, I just felt like I was getting stale. I wanted to change the pace, just be just one of the guys and play football, and he couldn't be happier to get to Toronto.
Well, the Ottawa fans are happy that Mark Lewis made that catch inside the Toronto 50 to the 48-yard line.
Bet you Mark wishes he had his feet.
Yeah, right. Carl Lewis, of course, the great sprinter. Mark Lewis, the Ottawa wide receiver and the son of the Lincoln Locomotive.
That's a good throw. Tom Burgess right in the hole. Lewis found the spot.
Well, if Ottawa can stick it in the end zone, we're going to have some kind of a finale here. This is right over the middle. Intended for the young fellow, Florindo Grilli, number 26. Joe's Wild felt there should have been a pass interference call, but no flag was thrown.
Paul Tripoli, number 28, the middle safety, providing the coverage. He comes over the top, and Florindo Grilli can't hang on to the football. You know, there was a lot of talk a few weeks ago about the Toronto Argonauts secondary and all the changes, but they've been a pretty solid group here tonight. They made a couple of big mistakes against Edmonton last week, but so far tonight, the 5 of them done a very good job.
Argos 5-3 coming into the ball game. Flag is down. And Burgess is 2 inside the Toronto 45 at about the 43-yard line. Now, he'd be short of the first down by about 4 yards. But this one is likely coming back and will, because the penalty is against the Rough Riders.
Toronto's blitzed a little more tonight than they have in the last few games, and of course that means 90% of the time you play man-to-man. That time they did an excellent job, the whole secondary.
Well, the Argos, who play so much zone, don't really like to blitz anyway. They think it's a gambling-type defense, which of course it is, but sometimes it helps you get some pressure.
Yeah, well, they blitzed more tonight.
Yep.
Ottawa number 19, second down.
That's Robert Reed. Jacques doesn't get too excited. Jacques DeCarry, the referee.
No.
We've got a second down situation. 20 yards to go, Ottawa. Time now starting to eat away as an 8:12 left in the fourth quarter. Burgess is down inside the Ottawa 45, the 5th sack of the night. Marlon Jones, number 90. He's another one of Leo Cahill's recruits. He really likes him. His 2nd sack of the night, and there was never any doubt about this one.
Well, he's from Central State College, which is just outside Dayton, Ohio, and he was originally an outside linebacker in college, so you know he's got that extra quickness, and that's the kind of guy you want to have on a defensive end, who knows how to contain and the quickness to get around that tackle for the sacks.
It's Chris Woods, 85, the only man back for the Argos. Just a good punt by Ken Clark into the wind. Chris Woods at the 20. And that's his best return tonight as he gets it over the 30 to the 33-yard line. And that's where the Argos will put it into play when we return. Toronto 24, Ottawa 12. We've got 7:43 left to play. There's big Marlon Jones. He's had himself a big game tonight. And he's one of the reasons why the Argos are in front by 12 with 7:43 left to play in the fourth quarter. Argos have the football, and that's important because they'd like to run some time off the clock now. J.C. Watts is at quarterback. Condredge Holloway started and went until the third quarter, and then was injured. Ellis fumbles the football. It's funny to see the defense.
Oh, yeah, they all start signaling. Oh, yeah. We've got it. We've got it. I thought he recovered his own fumble, but we'll have to wait and see.
It's Toronto ball. But every member of the Ottawa Rough Rider defense pointing it's our ball.
Well, they're wishing.
Yeah.
J.C. Watts has had a couple of weeks to learn and get ready the system. Looked like a pretty good handoff to me, but Craig Ellis just didn't take it properly, I guess.
Ends up picking up a couple of yards.
George Reed used to say he never wanted to watch the football being delivered to him by Ron Lancaster. He had his eyes on the hole all the time and never watched the football going into his hands.
Second down, 8 yards to go. J.C. puts it up deep. And it's picked up. Another penalty marker is down. Ottawa's going to be called for pass interference.
I maybe disagree with you a little bit. Craig Ellis really yanked somebody there. Let's see how they call this. Well, the Argos are clapping their hands. Boy, I don't know. Well, you're right, Pat.
Well, one Ottawa defensive back was beaten on the play, and then the other came across to make the interception. Was it
defensive pass interference? Ottawa number 24, first down.
Darryl Hall is called for the pass interference. Let's watch this.
Yeah, you're gonna watch Craig Ellis though. He really jerks. He jerks number 14 Dennis Clay to get back in behind him. Well, I don't see the interference there myself.
No, let's just see.
Well, it's just not there.
Officials have had their problems here tonight. A couple of calls that you sure can question. J.C. Watt's pass was intended for Stephen Cox, and he just wasn't able to grab it. You know, in critical plays, too. I mean, that was an extremely important play from an Ottawa viewpoint.
Well, you're talking a lot of yardage right there.
And you're talking about Toronto hanging on to the football.
36 yards that penalty cost them.
J.C. has completed only 2 of 6. Leaf, we'd like to see you. Take it off.
No, I'm not taking it off.
JC fires it over the head of the intended receiver, and Sharaska would like to have seen a penalty called on that, but none is. Just a reminder, it's a week Saturday. The University of Manitoba and the defending Vanier Cup champions, the University of Calgary Dinosaurs, in football mad Calgary. It'll be at McMahon Stadium. But the game is Labor Day. Edmonton in there to play the Stampeders. We'll have it for you on the full CTV network. Don't miss it. It should be a classic.
Well, here's a good test for Lance Chomick. 46 yards.
Got the wind at his back. And it hit the upright. Lance has missed so few, he can't believe that it didn't go through.
Darryl Hall's telling him how he missed it.
Friday Night Football on CTV. What an innovation that was. Football fans across the country have come to expect big games, and they will get another one. Saskatchewan plays in Winnipeg next Friday night.
They've got back-to-back games. They're playing the Labor Day Classic as well.
That one in Regina is always one of the great games, too. Rough Riders run the football over the 30 to about the 32. Robert Reed, the ball carrier. Dan?
Pat, I took a quick poll of some of the Argonaut defenders about the difference between Dillon and Burgess, and they said Dillon obviously wanted to release quicker to receivers running shorter routes. Burgess is sprinting out more. He obviously wants more yardage ever since he came into the game.
Well, both of them have been less than impressive. Robert Reed makes the catch and has the first down for Ottawa to the 40-yard line. Robert Reed, who was drafted in the first round by the Saskatchewan Roughriders a few years back and acquired by Ottawa in a big trade. Again, as I was mentioning, Reed, one of two Ottawa players, the other one being Ken Clark, born in Great Britain. Burgess pass. It's caught by Florindo Grilli. And he's up over the 45 to about the 46. But the Argos will give them that all afternoon. I mean, if Ottawa wants to chew up 5 and 6 yards at a time, the Argos say, fine, we're ahead by 12 points. You've only got 4 minutes left in the ballgame.
Oh, yeah, that's a good comment, Pat. They want nothing cheap, nothing long, keep everything in front of you. And if Ottawa is going to score, really make them earn it and chew up a lot of yardage doing so.
Second down, about 3.5 yards to go for the first down. Burgess throws. It was very nearly picked off by Cliff Hewitt.
Well,
Brad Califf was the intended receiver.
Cliff Hewitt was really intent on unloading on Brad Califf, and had he concentrated on the football, might have had an interception.
Califf, another of the little small guys that Ottawa uses as the receiving corps, 5'9", 164 pounds, from East Central Oklahoma, and as Leaf pointed out earlier, USFL grad.
Yep, Memphis Showboats for a couple of years.
Well, you've got to think Ottawa's got to go for it, don't they, on 3rd and 3.5?
Well, Burgess is an up back along with Jim Reed. And
it's the direct snap to Burgess. The catch is made. They rule out of bounds. Mark Lewis is incensed. He says that he made the catch and that he was inbounds or that he was pushed out.
Well, there were two referees side by side on the sidelines to make the call. And the only thing that you can look at is, was he forced out as he caught the ball in the air? So let's have a peek. Good catch by Mark Lewis. No, I think that's a good call. He was going to, his own momentum was going to take him out of bounds. It wasn't the push. That's a great call. Well, there was two officials right there on the sidelines. They were right on top of it, in perfect position to make that call.
So Cinderella's carriage is turning back into a pumpkin for Ottawa. 24-12 with 3:20 left in the fourth quarter. This is Craig Ellis. Oh boy, don't ever let him get to the outside, and Chris Sigler did not allow him to do so, because if he gets outside, forget it. He's going to run right to the end zone.
Talking about Chris Chris Ziegler. Ottawa only has 9 interceptions as a team coming in. Well, a couple by Darryl Hall tonight, but he has 5 of them. Chris Ziegler.
4 of them in one game.
Yeah.
It's 24-12. Toronto over Ottawa. We'll be back for the final 3:06 in a moment.
Following tonight's telecast, the Carling O'Keefe Sports defensive game star will receive quality and creativity in all their products for all your needs, from their line of personal leather goods through to their travel wear.
Well, here's the situation. Toronto 24, Ottawa 12. 3:06 left to play in the fourth quarter. Toronto with the football at the Ottawa 44.5-yard line. Second down, about 8 yards to go for the first down. Neither club has sparkled offensively, but the defenses have played well.
Well, it's been a tough second half for both offenses.
It's a great victory for the Argos to come into Lansdowne Park and pick up their 6th win. JC's pass goes incomplete. Penalty markers are down. Holding the call against the Argos. You know, Ottawa's 2-6, and they lost the game to the Montreal Alouettes, but they were ahead with only 2 or 3 minutes left in the ball game. Montreal roared back, scored 2 touchdowns, and that really has been the thing that sticks out most in the Ottawa coaching staff and players' minds.
Which is declined. Third down.
Kelvin Prunster called for holding. Decline. Third down. Argos.
Well, you know, last year Ottawa won both meetings between the teams. Toronto's chance to get even.
So Lance Chomick is back on the field. He'll try a 52-yarder. He missed on a 46-yarder that hit the upright. Lance will try this one from 52 with JC holding for him. Chris Ziegler takes it, and you can hear the Ottawa people say, ah, because they were hoping that he'd stay in the end zone. At 24-12, I don't know why he wouldn't.
12 points or 13 points. What's the difference?
Yeah.
You need field position.
And they will not have it here because Ottawa will start at about the 16.
That would have come back out to the 45-yard line, you know, because when I'm just wondering what defensive coordinator Ted Heath's saying to Chris Ziegler, like, you missed a signal, or there's usually signals that they send out to the field, whether to concede or run it out.
Argos' next home game a week from Sunday at 1:30, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Oh, they'll be knocking heads on that one. Pass is knocked down. Good play by 73. That's the middle linebacker, David Marshall.
Tell you, that game will be Harold Ballard's little mini Grey Cup.
Yeah.
In fact, did he not put a trophy together this year called the Ballard Cup for the series between the Argos and the Tiger Cats? I love it.
Harold has done a terrific job in keeping that Hamilton franchise going, because without him, forget it. You know, you can criticize him about a lot of things, but he's put his money where his mouth was in that Hamilton situation. This one is picked off by Kerry Parker. And Parker is back in Ottawa territory at about the 37-yard line.
What a beautiful interception he made. The timing, everything, the jump, the leap, the catch. That's his second of the ball game. Returned to 22 yards, and they're having a pretty good celebration. But watch, he's got Mark Lewis going downfield, reads the play all the way. Now just times it perfect. Accelerate up in the air and take the ball at its highest point. Oh, that's pretty.
Kerry, of course, coming over to the Argos in that Jan Currency deal this year from the British Columbia Lions. So with 2:23 left, the Argos start at the Ottawa 37-yard line, leading it by 12. This is the draw to Craig Ellis, and Ellis is into the 30. Have a pickup of about 7 yards. 2nd and 3, Toronto. It's amazing how the temperature has dropped here. It's down to 12 degrees Celsius. which is, I don't know, somewhere in the 50s, isn't it?
Yeah, I've never figured that out.
But I never will.
It's
Centigrade,
54
Celsius.
Fahrenheit down here.
Yeah, he knows that because he saw it on the scoreboard.
A liter for gasoline, I don't know what that is.
Craig Ellis, again, the ball carrier, has another Argo first down and is down to the 20-yard line. Darrell Hall cut him down at that point. Craig Ellis had a good game. He definitely has to be considered as one of the offensive game stars. Ken Joyner does, too. I thought he played well. Condredge played well when he was in there.
Kenny Joyner made a couple of super catches.
Ball is at the Ottawa 21-yard line with 1:50 left. Argos are not trying to rub it in. What they're doing is running the football and picking up sizable yardage. And again, it's Ellis. Matter of fact, the Rough Riders, are just wilting under the constant pressure. Michel Bourgeot was there to make the tackle on Craig Ellis on that play. Second down, 7 yards to go. Paul Pearson comes back into the ball game, and Mike Soroska comes up. No, the Argos capitalized on the opportunities that they got in the first half, but they haven't been overwhelming offensively. J.C. Watt's pass is caught by Chris Woods at the 5-yard line. It's another first down before Darrell Hall forced him out.
It's been pretty typical of their whole season.
Yeah.
Outside of that one game out in Edmonton that was just an offensive, just great show. But their style this year has been just don't beat yourself, play good, solid special teams, and take advantage of the few breaks that usually you get every game. And this has been a typical Argo win tonight for them.
But Ottawa's been woeful offensively the entire year. And the way you attract fans is to make exciting football. Now, they had 22,000 and change here tonight, many coming with great anticipation about the new quarterbacking situation, all their new receivers, but they weren't able to put the ball in the end zone.
Well, Pat, let's face it, they had their chances.
Yeah.
Dropped the ball.
And the Rough Riders have recovered it. Jace, look at this.
JC, just let him run with it. The whistle went. Don't be a hero.
No. Craig Walls, the linebacker, makes the fumble recovery for the Ottawa Rough Riders, and what that will do is save a little further embarrassment, because losing by 12 is one thing. Losing by 19 is probably a little more.
That's twice that J.C. Watts and Craig Ellis have miscued on handoffs, and boy, it looked like a good handoff again. I don't really know who to blame on situations like that.
When I say a little more, somebody's going to say that idiot Marsden has really made a nice comment there. I mean, it's a little more frustrating to lose by 19. Robert Reed, the ball carrier, gets over the 20 to the 21. And, of course, the Rough Riders would like to see this one end as well. Willie Pless was there to make the tackle. I think a lot of people came to the park tonight who haven't been here probably in some time because Ottawa has made a number of changes. They were anxious to see what they were going to do offensively, and the Riders did not come through.
Well, Tom Burge, he's got 1:10 left, Quit with the running of the football. I mean, put it up.
I think they just want to go home.
Well, I don't like that.
No.
I mean, put it up. You've got nothing to lose.
Couldn't agree with you more.
You don't really, you don't want to throw an interception, but I don't think at this point you care. You got to get it downfield.
Holy, there's an awful lot of that's unbelievable. To me, there was absolutely no question that that's a pass interference call.
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more.
Carl Brazeley ran right into Mark Lewis, and there isn't even any kind of a discussion about it. And the Ottawa fans reacted.
Well, Joe Moss is going to be a little upset when he gets a chance to look at the films and see what happened.
You see, the coaches, what drives the coaches crazy is the inconsistency.
Yeah, and the players.
Yeah, and the players too.
Boy, I don't blame them.
No. I mean, let's face it, no one is perfect. But if you're going to call some interference penalties, and certainly some questionable ones in this football game, then you don't let a blatant one like that go uncalled. Well, this hasn't been a great game offensively, nor has it been a particularly outstanding game for the officiating staff. But mercifully, it's coming to an end. 59 seconds left to play. Toronto 24, Ottawa 12, and Ken Clark is back to punt. And it's a good one. Chris Woods up to the 52-yard line and then forced back. So the Argos will be able to run it out. Well, let's hope that looks like Chris Woods has been shaken up. And boy, you would hate to see him lost, but he's had leg problems all season long.
He's a threat, though, and every team loves to have a guy that you can say he's a threat. At any point in time when he touches the football, he can either break a game open or do something exciting with it. And whenever you got one of those, you've got a weapon.
You know, Chris is a brilliant punt returner, but he didn't look to me like he had his heart in his work tonight.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Maybe he's got a nagging injury that's bothering him or something.
I'm sure he does.
That's all part of it. You know, not too many guys play a whole season and ever get to play at 100%. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, you never feel absolutely perfect when you go out in the field. If you did, I don't know. I don't think you would have been giving 100%.
Well, yeah, there isn't a chance you would, because after the 2-a-day workouts at training camp, that's when you start hurting. And it carries on right through the season.
Sure does.
So the Argos just want to run the clock out, get out of here with their 6th victory of the season. And Ottawa will go to 2-7. Argos will be 6-3.
That's tough. Ottawa winning their first 2 games and now 7 in a row. They made a lot of changes tonight, and, well, quite frankly, I didn't see a heck of a lot of improvement. Defensively, their front 4 was the one bright spot. They really played aggressively and played well.
2nd down, 9 yards to go. And JC goes deep looking for Chris Woods, but it's over his head. And that brings the clock down to 22 seconds left.
You know, I know JC's back, and he'd like to show the fans in Ottawa something because they let him go, and he's with the new team. But, you know, with 22 seconds left and you got the game in the bag, I don't like seeing them throw the bomb. You know, I don't.
No. Well, I think most people would agree with you. I mean, many people... I mean, I've heard the comment innumerable times this year about Winnipeg running the score on Saskatchewan, about running the score on Ottawa. You know, I mean, you don't like to embarrass people. Boy, that's a beautiful kick by Hank Olisic. And Ziegler allows it to go into the end zone for the Toronto Argonauts' 25th point of the night.
Boy, Hank gets an extra 25 yards a roll there, too.
Bernie and all the other punters in the league will be mad about that.
Bernie will have his foot right through the TV at this point.
We're talking about Bernie Ruoff, who is no different than any other punter. They hate to see opposing punters get free yardage, like Hank did on that one. The end zone's being cut down to 20 yards this year. He only got 20 free ones this time, Bernie. Don't be wild.
Now, Bernie only uses 12-inch TVs because they cost so much when he breaks them.
With 11 seconds left, the Ottawa Rough Riders start from their 35-yard line. And Burgess airs it out. And typical of the Ottawa performance tonight, Kelly Johnson did not hang on to the football.
Well, he made a nice adjustment, but he just couldn't come up with the catch.
You know, I was thinking when you were saying that he made a nice adjustment. That's like buying a $12 suit.
This ought to be good.
No. You buy the $12 suit and the tailor makes all the adjustments, but it's still a $12 suit. This guy is running down the field. He made a lovely adjustment. He still missed the football.
You're getting wild now.
And this one goes over the head of Kelly Johnson, and it's over. The Ottawa Rough Riders cannot do it here at home against the Toronto Argonauts. Argos win their 6th of the year. They remain comfortably on top of the Eastern Conference with a 25-12 victory. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. And now the Carling O'Keefe Sports offensive and defensive game stars as selected by our broadcast crew. From the Toronto Argonauts, running back Craig Ellis is the offensive star, and from the Argos, linebacker Willie Pless is the defensive star. Each of tonight's outstanding players will receive a Royal Canadian Mint 1-ounce solid gold coin, presented by Nikon for once-in-a-lifetime shots. The Nikon One Touch, the simplest Nikon 35mm ever. And by Tilly, bringing together quality and creativity in all of their products. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
The Toronto Argonauts up their record to 6-3 in Ottawa on a cool and windy evening as they beat the Ottawa Rough Riders 25-12. The statistical story, relatively even until you get down to the turnovers column. The Rough Riders coughed the ball up 6 different times. The Argonauts only 3, and 2 of those turnovers were J.C. Watt's interceptions after he came off the bench to sub for Condredge Holloway. The standings, the Argonauts now have a 6-point bulge over second-place Hamilton. The Tiger Cats in action Monday when they play host to Montreal. The Riders, 2-7, have suffered 7 straight losses. Once again, the final score, 25-12. The next game on CTV Monday afternoon, the Edmonton Eskimos take on the Calgary Stampeders. This program is copyright and is strictly intended for the private use of our audience. Any reproduction, retransmission, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the CTV television network is strictly prohibited.